Hey, you know what day of the friggin' week it is, you friggin' jerks? It's Thursday. That's right. And everybody's asking each other, hey, did you see this one? Hello, and welcome once again to Hey, Did You See This One? I hope you guys liked my impression of Chucky at the top of the show.
Oh, that's what that was.
Yeah,
I was wondering
That must
what
have
you
been
were
PG
doing.
censored for TV, Chucky.
It kind of was
You
because
didn't call anyone a slut.
well,
what
the
the
thing
hell?
is with the YouTube algorithm, you're not supposed to swear in like the first minute of your videos or some dumb bullshit. Oops.
Oh, I shouldn't have said that word then.
Slut and bullshit. Yeah, we've already fucked up. So, welcome to the show. Your host for tonight on this illustrious Thursday, special Thursday episode, is the man of the hour, the man, the myth, the legend. I don't know. Sorry, it's Steve. Steve's your.
Oh, I
host.
thought you were gonna say Chucky and then pull a Chucky doll out,
I wish.
and then I would have been like, Andy.
Andy,
Don't fuck with the Chuck.
Don't fuck with the Chuck.
My favorite part of this movie is when he throws a dart into that man's back and goes, bullseye! Because I yelled it as he yelled it at the same exact moment, and I knew he was going to say it, but I didn't at the same time. It was very satisfying.
And that,
I feel that wasn't a bullseye, though. Just FYI. Like, maybe butthole would have been bullseye or something, but, like, lower back.
Well,
what else would he say?
No. I'll tell you exactly what happened. He hit him perfectly between the lower two vertebrae, so it paralyzed him from the waist down.
Right between the 16th and 17th vertebrae,
exactly.
Or whatever.
But also, it's funny because the first arrow that he threw, the first dart that he threw, it didn't go in the center. It was off to the side, and I was like, oh, kidney shot. That's brutal. There's some really brutal shit in this movie, and that one I was like, ugh. But then clearly he was like dragging himself. Anyway,
so the movie we're reviewing this evening, we've returned once again to the grimoire of familiar killers. Ding, 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 ding.
So scary.
But Steve,
so soon in the year.
But Steve, it's only March. What's going on?
But it's only 6 more months till Halloween.
It's halfway grimoire or something.
We've decided as a collective, as a hive mind.
I got voluntold.
Me and Jason decided and then said, Kaylin, quiet, or else
and
they're
put a
going
hat
in the
on.
garbage compactor with a giant spiky wheel in it.
We're doing hats this week too. Shut up. Give me your lunch money. Oh yeah, that was last week.
We decided that it would take us 1 million years to get through all of these movies, so we thought, you know what? Maybe we do another halfway through the year collection, another chapter of the grimoire of familiar killers. So we're back. And
that's pretty close. We probably should have done it in May, but we have other plans.
Yeah, I mean,
this is good, right? This is half, right?
It's been 5 months
Mark?
since we. It's been 5 months since
May is like the direct, or the end of May is like the direct middle of the year. But that's beside the point. May is my month, and I don't want to have to be the one who holds the grimoire.
You have a bad luck month.
Yeah. So we have, for these movies, we've been going in a particular order, and we're starting once again with our boy Charles Lee Ray, aka Chucky the doll, the foul-mouthed murdering doll possessed by a murderer who was a strangler in life and a strangler in death, I guess.
And he
wasn't very misogynistic in this one, though.
That's because it was a boys' school. He didn't have too many people to say horrifying shit to.
It's the woke 90s now, too.
Right.
Misogyny went away forever in the 90s. Just kidding. I'm sure the next one...
Yeah.
Sure
he does make a weird, questionable, like, eyebrow-raising racist joke where you're like...
Yeah, there's racism.
Oh, yeah.
There's some hard racism in this one, so that's...
It's not hard. It's, like, weird. It's like, you get it, and you're like, that's not even funny, really.
Okay, it's not hard racism. It's like dad racism.
Sure, yeah.
Like you, like a dad, like an uncle who like doesn't know he shouldn't say that.
Yeah, Charles Lee Ray is not that woke.
No, he murders women by.
Listen,
by
when we eventually
them.
get to Freddy versus Jason, Freddy makes some really weird comments as well.
Oh, and so does Destiny's Child lady. She says something really brutal.
Kelly?
Yeah, she uses the F slur in that movie.
You know what? He then says something racist to her, so maybe she learned a lesson from Freddy. Maybe he was trying to woke her up. Anyway,
We'll
So
get there in
let's
5 years. So
yeah, one day we'll be able to do Freddy versus Jason. This movie is Child's Play 3, the follow-up to Child's Play 2. Um, in a lot of ways, a worthy follow-up, but in a lot of ways, maybe not so much. We'll start with Jason this week. Why don't you? Well, I mean, the movie. Let me give a little brief history about it before we start. The movie was made literally a year after the second one, so it had almost no turnaround in terms of like script preparation or even writing, and the budget was very limited, and they had not a lot of a wiggle room to kind of like tinker away with it. So that's kind of one of the reasons it falls short in a lot of areas. But once again, Don Mancini returns as the writer. He's written every single Chucky product that has been put in cinema, as well as the TV show that's on right now. He still hasn't directed yet. I don't think he directs until Seed of Chucky, but he has written all of them, and I think he starts getting some executive producer credits on the next one, because I believe he starts to, like, you know, own a significant chunk of the property, which is very cool to me. And I know we've talked about this before on the other 2 episodes, but it's something that, like, in my heart, I'm like, I want to be that. I want to create my own killer doll and own it and just be able to make a million movies and TV shows about it. Yeah. So it's very inspiring to me, the Don Mancini tale, even though it's full of like heartbreak and trial and tribulation. It's really cool to me.
Those are the best stories.
Yeah. Directed by Jack Bender, who he did a couple of things that people might know, but he directed some Lost, he directed some Alias, mostly TV stuff. But he's, you know, not a bad director. Competent, and I think he did a competent job, though I do think that this movie is lacking in the cool cinematography of the last 2 movies as well. But anyway, let's start with Jason. Okay,
did you get the did you get like how much money it made and how much money it cost to make?
I don't know, but I can find that easily. But while I do that, why don't you start telling us about the first time you watched this movie?
Sure. So what's interesting here is I didn't realize it was only 1 year later. Well, it's like it went in production 1 year later and came out 3 years later, I guess. Yeah, because 1988 is Chucky 2. What I'm wondering is how Andy aged up like 5 years or more.
The movie takes place in 1998.
Yeah. Oh, I didn't really. So, okay,
which is also cool because The Bride of Chucky is released in 1998, and that's when that movie takes place. So it's like right after this series of events in this movie, The Bride of Chucky happens.
So The Bride of Chucky is the next one.
Yeah.
And what they did is they fast forwarded so Andy would be older, but that means that they can have Andy obviously played by a different actor or the same actor, doesn't matter. This fucking kid probably still looks the same as a 40-year-old. He's got one of those all the 90s baby-faced like teen bop Tiger Beat models. They all like didn't age into it and all look the same. This much of their face, and then the rest of their body, they're old fat.
Yeah, he
dudes.
gets some sick like gray streaks on the side. Yeah. Like now he's even hotter, guy.
Well, I was not Haley Joel Osment though. He still has this much of his face is still the face, and then
he's got lots of extra face now.
He's got lots of extra face on his body.
I think he's still a cutie pie.
I didn't catch that it was 1998. That's interesting, and I like that they did that because I was done with Child Andy, but the first time I watched this movie was last night. I sat and I watched the whole thing. I didn't watch it in parts. I had the time to sit and watch a whole movie.
I just got a message from Brad Dorff on my phone. We're contractually obligated to, every time we say Andy, to go, Andy.
Where are you, Andy? I'm gonna hide the soul to your body. And what had happened was I sat and watched the whole movie, and I wasn't bored, and I didn't pull my phone up 1,000 times, and I fucking watched the goddamn movie, and I'm glad that I watched it that way, because I think that horror movies specifically, if they're 90 minutes, I've kind of had a new lease on that. They should be, I think they are, like, don't watch them in parts, because you're gonna sort of, there's so little plot that you're gonna like lose it, and then you're gonna be like, it just seems like a series of things are happening, and I realize that now. I'm not saying I'm not gonna do it anymore. I'm just saying that as advice.
I get it. No, I know what you're saying. Also, like, tension building in horror movies is very specific to editing. So if you do and a lot of times these types of movies are edited in a way that they know when to have a break for the commercial, like when they're going to put it on TV eventually, they're like, and this is where we put the commercial break here, and this is where we put the commercial break there.
So, but I do have a bit of a history with this movie because I do have a very distinct memory of seeing Tyler holding Chucky in the carnival, because I think on the back of the VHS there's a picture of that. And as a kid, you assume that all horror movies are for adults, but a lot of these horror movies, especially from this era, they're for like 16, 17-year-olds to like sneakily watch. Like not a lot of like old, like people our age were probably watching these movies at this time. They probably thought they were stupid.
They're for teens.
Yeah, they're for teens. Like the way that horror movies were that we want, like Scream was for teens. It was just a little bit more graphic and a little bit scarier. And then now the fucking horror is unwatchable because all the fucking special effects are so graphic. We'll see though. Maybe that's my own interpretation of, like, you know what I mean? Like it's changed from back then. Anyway, my point is I have this distinct image of him holding the Chucky doll at the carnival, and as a kid I thought it was like Tyler. I didn't know who he was. I thought he was like had like an adult persona. I didn't realize he was the most young, clueless person.
Oh god, yeah, that kid,
movie. Like unwatchably
like
bad
a 10-year-old
at acting,
playing a 4-year-old.
Exactly. Because I
don't think he was a bad actor. I think that he was given direction to act like that, and it's like he's doing a good job of acting like a complete fucking idiot.
Buffoon. Yeah. But what ended up happening is like it completely changes in your head when you get to that scene and you realize that it's completely different, like completely different. So I'm gonna go back and pretty much watch every horror movie on the rack of the horror section at the convenience store that I grew up near. Like the Sleepaway Camp 2, where there's like the dude with like the guitar that's got a screw on the end, and there's all the girls in their like 90s being like, ah.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
The driller killer, yeah. I know
all those crazy horror movies, like the Critters movies, the fucking Puppet Master movies. I want to watch
the
all
first
of them.
one, Sleepover Murderer or whatever it's called. He just uses a drill, and then the second one, he's like a ghost demon that has a guitar with a drill on it. It's fucking crazy.
See, and even when I sat down to watch Chucky 3, that opening scene where he's stalking the business, the toy executive, I was like, oh my god, he's gonna do some crazy horror shit. He's gonna like scalp a guy, and there's hardly even any blood in this movie.
He's gonna scalp a guy. No, he just needs to take him out so that he can go on the internet to figure out where Andy is.
And I realized that whoever made Toys might have gotten inspiration from this like scene, because this was like the whole Toys movie.
Wait, this is a Jason's Theory corner. Yeah, we need to cue the music.
Theory, bud. This whole like scene was like basically Toys the movie in one 15-minute segment, and I really enjoyed it. So yeah, that's my history with this film.
Cool.
And it is a film.
Oh yeah, because there's no explosions or cartoons.
Hit the button for film or movie.
Did I make one for that yet? I can't remember.
No, I think what we'll have to do is I'll make basically a soundboard on my OBS.
Film or movie?
Yeah, like what's it called? A monocle. It's like, this is a film, and then you have like, yeah, this is a movie.
That's another guy just like pouring popcorn down his fucking gullet and drinking a giant
movie, man.
All right,
and then licking his fingers just like you don't like.
No. Don't even put your hand close to your mouth like that. Don't you know about diseases?
That's how we all got COVID in the first place.
Yeah. All right, Kaylin, why don't you tell us about the first time that you watched Child's Play 3?
Before I say that, just to add on to what you guys were saying earlier about like watching method, don't watch it don't take notes the first time you watch it. Watch it first and then do the notes later.
I had considered just watching it again without notes, because this movie's fun. Is a visually good movie. Like, it's fun to watch. It's dumb, and I know, Steve, you're gonna have a lot to say about it because you love the first two so much.
Yeah.
But the first two made me kind of like. This one is very much a like Ninja Turtles 2 version of Chucky, where it's just
right.
You know what I mean? Sorry.
Okay. Yeah. No. Yeah. You can feel that the budget is waning, but it's still good in some parts. Or you're like, yeah. They still got that.
They cut half his face off, and that was worth $87 million.
No, this was worth the price of admission. Downloading it from the internet. Halen, were you? Sorry, did you? No.
No, he just
Oh, you just
No,
started. Yeah.
segue.
he added discourse.
Yeah. Go ahead.
So my first memories of this movie was the cover. Like walking through Jumbo Video, this cover definitely stood out. I never watched horror movies though back in the day. I probably said it every other Grimoire episode, but I think it was like about 2 years ago. I was like, you know what? Let me check out these cult classics, these like classic horror movies or whatever, and they're hilarious. But about 2 years ago is when I first saw all of them. So the Chuckies, the JCs, the Mikeys, and the Freddies. Watched them all straight through. Like each day it was a different one. So 2 years was my first time seeing it. I got it on DVD a couple months ago, probably back in October. And so I watched it again recently, I think in November, maybe. And then again the other day. When I watched it the other day, though, I was just, because I watched it recently, I kind of took notes while watching it. And then I was upset with that decision. And I was like, no, I got to do what I always do, watch it first and then do the notes. Because it definitely, you take a note and then something happens, right? It throws off everything.
This one moves really fast, so like that kept happening to me where I'd have to like pause it for a second and finish my thought.
Yeah.
Steve, stop making faces.
You guys are just discussing about how to take notes. Like, what the
Yeah, this is entertainment.
Talk about the movie.
It's entertainment.
I am talking about the movie.
All right.
But yeah, that my first time 2 years ago. It is more toned down than the first two, and we'll talk all about that more. But yeah, the first two felt more like kind of adult demographic, and this one feels more like young adult demographic.
I agree with that exact sentiment. Everything in this movie to me felt a little bit more like PG, even though it's not. It's still quite violent, and he swears all the time, and it almost felt like a RoboCop 3 to RoboCop 1 kind of level of difference.
Ninja Turtles 1 to 2, Ghostbusters 1 to 2.
I guess that's probably a pretty apt comparison.
The budget seems a bit bigger, but like
it was 13 million and it made 20, which is okay.
They just blow their load on like a couple of things instead of like using the budget throughout the whole movie like they clearly did with the first two.
Well, and another thing, like one thing about this franchise and the Freddy franchise versus the Jason franchise. Sorry, I got the burpees tonight, guys. I'm so sorry.
Burpular Bob over here.
Nice.
They
let them out so we can rate them.
They that's another sound clip. Rate that bird. I learned the other day that there's a guy in Hollywood who was like a burp ADR guy, and he would come in and burp. No, well maybe, but he still made makes like $10,000 a year on like one movie he did where he just like kills a burp, and like it was like a Pixar movie or something. So like every time that movie makes money, he gets a little bit of money for that burp. Anyway, just to show you how messed up Hollywood is, you can burp once and make $10,000 a year for the rest of your life on it. What was I saying?
Hook me up with that job.
Anyway, I'll just talk about my first time watching this movie. I've probably said this before in the Grimoire episodes, but I went through like a pretty hefty horror phase when I was a teenager, and I watched as much of it and all of it as much as I could get my hands on. It wasn't as easy as it is now. But
when we were kids, you had to find horror in the forest,
or go rent it from a store or whatever. Find it in a drain pipe. But I was able to get all of them, and Child's Play became like my favorite franchise, even though it was the one that scared me the most. Like the covers anyway. Like you can walk through and like the Friday the 13th ones, it's like, oh, it's spooky, but not too spooky. But the Child's Play ones were always just horrifying to me because it was the doll, right? Like the face of the doll. Guy. Yeah. Look at him. He's cute in mine, and he's so scary in yours.
Was that your drawing?
Even in yours, he's still pretty spooky.
Yeah, I drew this last. Or
he's
2
covered
years
in
ago
blood.
Yeah, it's kind of zoomed in, but the picture is basically like the doll surrounded by a pool of blood and there's a knife next to him, and then there's like someone being like, "Oh my god, what happened here? Whose doll is this? Why is this doll covered in blood?"
Which happens
Anyway.
a lot in the movies.
Yeah. But I don't have like a distinct memory of like the exact moment I watched it, because I watched all of them so close together. And this one kind of got lost in the fray of all the good moments of other ones. And like after this one, Chucky's personality is basically the movies. They still have the horrifying kills, but Chucky kind of takes precedence over everything else. It's like he's the movie after this. You don't really care about anything except him. Andy's gone, and he does not return for many, many years. He's now in the TV show, and I think he's in a couple of the movies that came out before the show was released, played by the child actor from the first two movies, which is pretty cool. Jason and I watched a large chunk of the first season of the TV show, and it's quite good.
For 6 episodes. I still have episode 7 on my hard drive, and I'm always like, should I just? But I think I'm going to just...
Watch it.
Why don't you just... Why not?
Because me and Jason watched it together.
Yeah.
He's sentimental like that.
Yeah.
Oh, you guys got... Okay, yeah.
And also, I kind of want to watch every Chucky movie before I go back into the show, because the show was so good that I want to be able to pick up every little reference.
And the show is a direct continuation of those last few movies.
Yeah.
So anyway, my first time watching it, not really a huge impact, but I do remember a lot of the iconography of like the military school. But there's, the scene in the second movie where he kills the teacher with the yardstick. For some reason, I always like thought that was in this movie, and thought it was like the best part of this movie. I was like, man, that part was so good. 3 doesn't suck. Remember when that teacher gets killed? So good. And then we watched the second one. I was like, oh, it's in the second movie. And then I'm like, I can't remember a single kill from the third one. And
there aren't that many kills.
There's not really any good kills.
It's more like the we'll get to it, but the psychological horror of like the war games part is like the
I guess, but that's more that's more like he's creating something that's chaotic.
It's a psychological horror situation.
But it's not memorable. Like I totally forgot about that until I saw him loading the guns. I'm like, oh yeah, he switches the bullets with real bullets, and then they shoot one guy. It's like in your mind, you're like, they're all gonna fucking shoot each other. It's gonna be crazy. It's like, no, they just shoot one guy. That's all that happens.
But he's a genius about it. I'm gonna get into that when we get there.
All right. Anyway, so I'll wrap up my introduction to the movie. I don't really remember the first time I watched it, because there's so many parts of other Chucky movies that are so good, and the only things that I really remember about this movie the first time watching it were the military school aspect of it, the fact that there's another little kid for some reason. I'm like, why does Chucky always want to take over children? I don't understand. Does he think it's going to be easier to like live as a child for a while? Like, he's probably going to be so weak.
Longer, I guess. Oh, Jesus.
And then I guess you get to live longer, yeah, but you also have to like gain your strength. Like, he's going to have the strength of a child.
Yeah, but he gets to live a whole other life with the mind of an adult. He wants to do pervert things.
Oh, God.
Sorry.
Okay. I think he just wants to murder, but I don't know.
That would suck if like he gets into a body, gets all the way through school, fucking turns 18.
He's not going to school.
I don't know.
Yeah, he's not gonna go through like learning again.
Anyway, he starts murdering and gets put in an asylum immediately. I think, or in jail immediately. I think would be a really funny outcome. Like, what's your end game, buddy?
I don't think he has one. I don't think they really think about it that much.
Just get me out of this fucking doll.
They also create a weird rule in this movie where it's like the first person he reveals the secret to is the one that he then can take over. Which I was like, is this like part of the curse, or is this just something that he's deciding? And I like looked it up, and like supposedly it's part of the curse, where like he's in a new body, which is the new Chucky that he's in, the new doll, and he has to like reveal himself to the person, and then that's the person that he has to take over, like once he like shows that he's a possessed doll. And I'm like, okay, is that true for the other movies? I don't.
He probably
have to go back and check.
Write that rule.
I also think that they remove the rule after, like, they
yeah.
don't follow the rule. The voodoo stuff, like, it's in here, but the further along you go, the less import it has in terms of plot. It's just like he has to go up to somebody and go, "Ade due dembala," and like a storm comes and you get excited because you're like, he's speaking French.
I say scrap
Sick.
it all together. He just likes killing, and now he's a doll, so he can get away with it that much easier.
But he hates.
Also, why would he even want to be a human? Stay a doll.
No, he hates being a doll though,
He
because
hates it.
he wants to
But
be a
why?
man. He wants to be a human man. He doesn't have a penis.
Kaylin, would you want to be a doll?
He doesn't have a wiener.
Maybe.
He still gets when he gets stabbed. He still bleeds. It's not like he's
Well,
invincible.
somebody give Chucky Kaylin's number and they can swap souls.
Yeah.
Too
Chucky's-
old for him.
Yeah, but you're an adult man with adult man strength, so at least he could possess you and go out strangling women.
Murder people. I don't think that he like went specifically for women. I think he just loves killing people in general.
Well, he seemed to call a lot of women F and B's in those first two movies, so
I know
he
he's
definitely didn't
he's
like
rude.
women.
He's a rude guy.
He definitely
he's
didn't.
he's not a nice person. Okay, so wrap up's complete. I guess we'll get into the bulk of the discussion.
Bulk
now.
of the discussion. We can probably go through the plot a little bit. The plot's pretty light.
Yeah, I mean,
it's a
there's
direct sequel to the second movie. Like,
yeah, and it has a good opening. I really do like the opening because it's the classic credits opening that I crave. That
How
doesn't
could they not
exist all
do
that
anything
much
about
anymore.
all that blood, though?
What blood?
Like when they're picking up the melted Chucky mess, and then
Yeah.
the blood is just oozing out of it.
I feel like in terms of plot, there isn't any. There's no reason. It's only for us. It's for the audience. But
That's fair.
you
But
could argue that it's automated.
yeah,
Like
I
somebody
was gonna
just hit
say,
a button and it's like a robot that's doing it, and
I
not
don't
a
think
person.
it's probably somebody in like a operator thing, just moving shit. They probably
yeah,
don't-
but wouldn't they be like kind of like so? Because I'm thinking like a crane, so they would be up hot, like somewhat high anyway, and they can see what they're grabbing and where they're moving.
would
in.
probably
Probably
just-
like a rat. It was a rat. inside
yeah,
it.
or probably just look like oil. You know, like I feel like I do love the
Lubricant.
conceit of it just falling into,
Mhm.
the next
vat.
batch.
and then
I
they
do-
use that vat for some reason.
Yeah.
They use just what's there.
I like
Let's
that it's
make
like the
first
same
doll.
factory from
Yeah.
like the factory shut down because like the bad press, like just all good guy dolls are like, no more, we can't do this anymore, and like they waited 10 years or whatever it's supposed to be, and they're like, all right, it's our time. Nobody remembers the murders anymore. Nobody remembers that our doll went crazy and killed somebody, or a kid blamed our doll or whatever, because that would cause, like, if somebody said, I don't know, what's a popular toy now? All I can think about is
Transformers.
all I can think about is Furby and Tickle Me Elmo. Like if a Furby
Yeah,
killed
Tickle Me
somebody, or
Elmo.
Tickle Me Elmo killed somebody, or like somebody said that they did, like that the prices would go down. There would be weird nerds that would be trying to buy them.
like in the
Which-
show.
yeah.
Well, is that a plot in the show?
Yeah,
that
remember
should be.
remember at the beginning, the kid's like, he gets a Chucky doll because he's like, "Whoa, cool, a Chucky doll," and then it's Chucky.
Well, yeah, he is, but I'm saying like in like there should be some weirdo collector who's like has like a whole vault of good guy dolls or whatever, right?
yeah,
Anyway, yeah, it's a good opening credits. I love a good, the credits play over a factory doing shit. It's always cool.
The reverse melting of
Yeah,
Check
that's
it out.
cool. That's
look,
cool.
I'm always gonna say that the intro to a movie that has some stuff going on, even that red swirl,
Yeah.
I watched it. If
It's blood, Jason. Just
I know, but if it's just words popping up on the screen, I'm likely just gonna
Yeah.
do a little scrub.
We've talked about this in the Grimoire before. All these movies have their credits sequences because it was the era where they still had to do it. But some of them are way better than others, right? Like we hated Jason because it was just boring. We loved Freddy. We loved Chucky. We loved, in year 2, we loved those guys as well. But I think Jason also still had a boring.
It has the pumpkin. No, that's Halloween.
No, that's
Halloween.
Mikey.
Oh, that one still. I forgot about it, but it's gross. The way it opens and it's like skin. I don't know. There's something really gross about that pumpkin opening to
No,
me. I don't know.
Friday the 13th is basic, but it does end.
It's
with-
just like the words jumping out at you.
yeah, but it does end
Yeah.
with like the name of the movie exploding, right?
That was awesome.
Yeah.
That part was awesome.
Was it? I mean, sure,
Yeah.
I guess.
Hell
That's
yeah.
what turned it into a movie and not a film.
So to
Was that
just quickly to
explosion.
answer your question from before, to put it in perspective, just to see how out of touch with toys we are, the most popular toys now are a toy based on a cartoon I've never heard of called Bluey. Well, I've heard of it, but I've never seen it.
What is it?
Bluey. Yeah, it's an Australian show about like a
Cow or something.
cow or
Did
something.
they beat out Paw Patrol? I thought Paw Patrol was the ish.
That shit hasn't been the ish like in
Yeah,
a
get
while
with
now.
it, Kalen, you old fuck.
There's
Paw Patrol, you pervert.
Squishmallows, and it looks like Star
Squishmallows.
Wars toys are pretty
Back in
popular
action.
because Star Wars is pretty
Well,
prominent.
Mando just dropped season 3 yesterday, so.
Yeah.
Oh snap!
Well, I mean, Star Wars toys will probably always be popular, but there's gonna be some thing every year forever until the day we die, right? Like, every year there's some sort of popular toy that we will never,
Consumerism.
Yeah,
unless we
my
get
wife's
children ourselves.
My wife's like little cousin who's like 10 had these things that are like almost like a Pokemon sort of idea where they're these like little squishy toys. They're just squishy and they're different animal shapes, right? And they come in a pack of like 100, and it's like, why?
That's too many.
Why 100? And I'm trying to like relate to this kid, and she's like, I don't
Imagine being a parent and just
I
like
don't know.
stepping on one of the hundreds of squishies everywhere and just being like, ugh. God
Yeah.
damn these
Well, at least it
squishy
doesn't
things.
hurt.
And I
I know,
asked her
but
parents,
still,
and they were
I don't
both
wanna
like,
step
I don't
on
know. It's a bunch. I'm like, why not like 3 or like 5? Why is it a case of 100?
That's not enough.
That's like how many you would put, and they're like, you know, you got to kind of collect them all. And I'm like, you have the whole collection if you have 100. And then I realized I sounded like a boomer, so I
It's
stopped.
like, no, there's 10,000, Jason.
Yeah.
The collection is 10,000.
And I was like, back in my day, there were only 151 you had to collect, and then you caught them all, and they made just 750.
Wasn't it 101 at first?
No, it was
No,
151.
it was 150, and then Mewtwo made 151.
No. And Missing No
Yeah.
made 150.
I was never into Pokemon.
Official Pokemon. No, but now there's like 1,000 Pokemon.
I did like saying, catch 'em, gotta catch 'em all. Gotta catch 'em all.
But
But I also had a
Chucky,
friend, one of my best friends was named Jamal at the time, and I would go up to him and I'd say, catch 'em, gotta catch Jamal, gotta catch Jamal, and I would chase him around. It was
Weird.
fun.
and I
Appropriate.
chased him around. Chucky is directly based off Cabbage Patch Dolls, as I recall, because they were
probably.
they were
Weird,
the
creepy,
they were the rage.
chunky baby.
My dad bought one for me for Christmas in like 1989 because he was like, they'll be worth something someday. And I was like, why did you get me this doll? And my mom was like, why did you get him this doll? And we all had a very heteronormative moment of cis hetero gender.
Where you guys all talked about how dolls are for girls.
Yeah, we all said the F slur.
Yeah. So you're like the commandant of the military school?
Yeah.
Why are you playing with a doll?
Dolls
Dolls
are
are
for
for
kids.
girls.
Dolls are for girls.
Now I'm going to take this doll to my office and put some lipstick on it.
Listen, I just to fast forward to that part a little bit, we'll talk about what actually happens, but I fully went, nobody's questioning why this dude had a heart attack, and then they found a doll with lipstick all over it, but I assume Chucky got up and bounced once the dude died.
I guarantee you that was probably a part, like a plot part, was going to be like that. And they were probably like, no, that's too weird. And Don Mancini was like,
Cover it
when
up.
can I put my gay shit into
You
this?
never let me do anything weird. Like the whole conceit of all of it's weird. You're lucky we're letting you make a third one
Yeah.
of these.
No, he has John Waters is in the next one, I think, like as like a not a main character, but he's like a recurring character throughout the movie.
That's actually awesome.
Don Mancini is like he wants to fill it with just like weird, odd stuff to make people like raise their eyebrows. Which this one seems to be the most tame on that. You know, it's like there's nothing except for maybe the one student who has like the most closeted gay energy of any person I've ever seen in my entire
There's
life.
like 2 kills in this movie that like Chucky barely interacts with. He gives a guy a heart attack.
Yep.
Excuse me. And then a guy shoots another guy that's tangentially related to him.
Yeah, he's the
They
reason
loaded
that
up with real
happens.
bullets.
Yeah. So
Live rounds.
Chucky in the first like half of this movie is almost like, ugh, do I have to do this bullshit again? The first kill, he seems like he genuinely enjoys because he plays cat and mouse with this dude. But by the
It's
time,
a classic Chucky kill.
Yeah, by the time he gets to the academy, though, he's just like, just get me to Andy so I can either kill Andy or get me to a kid so I can play hide the soul.
He's like, I really hope somebody puts me in a room that has a bunch of knives on the wall so I can take one. And he does. That happens. Also, why does that kid have so many knives on his wall?
Because he's a weird
Stupid
lieutenant.
pervert.
You know, bad lieutenant, he's weird lieutenant.
Is he a lieutenant?
He says
Do they
he's a
have
lieutenant.
ranks?
I was
Oh,
questioning that. I was
They're not
questioning
real
what that
rank
means.
ranks.
Like, yeah, they can't be real ranks because he's 17
It's like junior
max.
lieutenant
Yeah.
dildo or some shit. You know?
Yeah, dildo's right in the title of his name, I think.
Yeah. I it's one of the things that I have the biggest problem with it is like I get really like scoffy at the general attitude of this stuff, and I think Don Mancini just didn't have like a whole, because I think his main conceit for the third movie was that he wanted to have multiple Chuckies. It's like, I want to have a whole bunch of Chuckies.
Yeah, because
And the blood pours in the mixing bath.
I thought that's what was going to happen.
And he eventually gets to do that in, you know, the subsequent movies and the TV show.
Cult
and
of
stuff.
Chucky,
like,
I think is that.
He does it in a few different things.
And they tease it a little bit in this, where that during that first kill, there's two buddy dolls talking to each other, and then
when he gets darted. If you ever want to torture someone, I feel like that would be the most effective form of torture I've ever seen.
Which part?
Have you ever tried
good guy dolls talking to each other?
Yeah.
Hi, my name's whatever.
Lewis and Gary or whatever.
You mean just like have those two dolls talking to somebody, like talking to each other while you're sitting there like tied up? You'd be like, "This is so annoying. It's torturous."
Exactly. Yeah.
Well, that's the thing about Chucky in this movie. As soon as he's like reanimated, like he becomes the doll again, his first line of the movie is "No." he doesn't want to be in this thing.
Yeah, he hates it. He's like, he'd rather be dead.
He'd rather just be he'd rather be a vat of goo for 8 years. He's probably just, his soul was just
probably just sleeping.
Yeah, just having a little 8-year nap. I did not realize it was 1998. I was like, how did he age up 5 years or more, 8 years?
There's like a very brief moment where the computer shows it, and the newspaper clipping shows it, and that's the reason that so I mean, he kills the toy guy, which when I was a kid I always was like, it would be so cool to like be a toy guy, like a guy who like works at the top of a toy company and is like in charge of being like, this is a great idea. And then every movie I've seen in my childhood that deals with that, the only one that seems fun is Toys, which ends up being like horrifying as well.
But the Toys one is like a similar thing where a military dude takes over, and the only person with the mind of a baby, still Robin Williams, doesn't get to be the guy until the end. He wants to make different flavors of fake puke,
and he wants to make the toys. Yeah. But like, you know, Small Soldiers, which we've done on the podcast before, Toys, this. I'm sure we've probably done another one. Yeah. But like it makes it just seem so heartless. Like the guy, he's like pounding scotch and watching just the news, and you're like, and like hitting golf balls, and you're like,
watching the stock
this man
report.
is such boring man.
Let's run through this scene because it's probably the best. It's the best Chucky part of the movie. So Chucky plays this weird game of cat and mouse where first he brings over the golf club, and I said out loud at my TV, oh, is he going to beat him? He's going to brain him with that thing? Doesn't. He just puts it in a place, and he turns the TV off, right? And then he turns to turn the TV on, and the TV's still on. What did he do to make him turn? Anyway, he brought the golf club over.
He puts the golf club there to like give him the idea.
That's
of
what I
wanting
mean.
To, like,
but he did something else to like get his attention. Anyway,
I think he turns on another toy, like another toy goes like meh, meh,
right.
It's like full of toys or whatever. Yeah.
So he turns, he starts playing with one of those golf games where you put it in, it shoots it back at you. And then it's just pandemonium from there. He turns off the TV. He goes over to like look around for the remote control. He pushes it into his hand, and he gets back up. Then he throws a dart into the small of his back, paralyzing him. Then he turns on like all the toys, and they're all just like in a nightmare formation. And then finally he just strangles.
You forgot about the classic slip over the marbles.
Oh yes, right. That was the part that I forgot. He did the old slip over the marbles gag.
I believe I said out loud, he's losing his marbles.
I think I said that's gotta hurt.
Both good.
Yeah. And then he throws the dart in his back, and then he strangles the shit out of him. And I was like, oh, so it's not going to be like overtly gory, but he's going to strangle some bitches.
Well, the Chucky movies are never super gory. They're always just like violent.
There was the most jarring thing I've seen in the three movies is the father in the second one falling off like the stairs and like hitting on the way
breaking
down.
his neck. Yeah,
Yeah, that was messed up. But this one, the only real gross part was when they we'll get to him when they killed the barber. When he kills the barber,
best character in the movie.
Yeah, I wrote hair pervert all through my notes.
Yeah, exactly. He's really concerned about the hair length.
I don't even know.
It's weird because it is pervy, but at the same time, you're like, is he perving or is he just like really, really like, I gotta cut this fucking hair? Like,
You
these
gotta cut
The fact that
disgusting
he
to
even
me.
has to cut a doll's hair, I don't think it's pervy. I think it's
think
literally almost like an OCD or something. Like, no, your hair's too long. It's too long.
Handle it. Yeah.
I mean, they can be
And then
pervert non-sexually.
the female cadet, De Silva, I think, she like whips her hair when he walks by. I was like, ooh, right in your face.
Yeah, she knows how to hit his buttons.
Yeah.
But he's trimming his mustache constantly. He's inside his nostril hair, which is kind of gross as well. Like,
oh man, you just pluck it. You just pull that shit out.
Good lord,
It sucks, but I do it sometimes.
Sounds painful.
It makes your eyes water real bad.
No. The trick is pretend to like kind of like sneeze, sort of like blow out through your nose while you do it. Like go.
I
like
thought you were gonna be like, do like a fake like, and you're like, oh, I just felt like I sneezed so hard that I'm crying now.
Twist and pull.
Guys, I feel like the barber has a better idea than you do. Just cut it.
Did you see this one?
Ripping it out by its roots.
We lost a viewer.
Yeah, they're like, why are they talking about this?
Twist and pull.
I have a question from earlier. Why do they have a picture of Charles Lee Ray posing? Like, is it I think it's the execs. They're like, oh, they thought the kid thought the doll was possessed by this man, and then it's a picture of Charles Lee Ray, but he's like posing though. It's not like a mugshot.
It's meant to look like somebody like taking pictures of him from a distance. I think is what it's meant to be, like a candid sort of like security photograph.
Gotcha.
Not like a headshot. But I do know what you mean, but yeah, that's kind of funny. I assume that they like suspected him as the murderer or something, and were like following him, but because like at the beginning of the first movie, he's like a wanted man or something.
Yeah.
They don't go. Actually, the TV show goes into pretty serious depths of his past, which is kind of cool. We should do the TV show one day, guys.
He also, I'm just from my notes here. I should have just looked at my notes because I had this written out in order of events. He does fucking whack him with the golf club too.
Yeah, right in the forehead.
Yeah, he does brain him.
And I was about to say the makeup on that hit is really good.
And the way he played it
looks
like
raised and it's bruising and like I'm like that looks like he got hit. Like, for real. Like,
and the way he reacts to it wasn't like comical.
Yeah, he just
seemed
like
he's like, oh,
like he's out of it.
I'm fucked up.
He's trying to like get up, but he can't even figure out where his hands are. It's if you've ever had a serious noggin whack, like it's pretty accurate.
I was sitting on a tennis court net one time and fell backwards and whacked my head, and I have this theory. Welcome to Jason's Theory Corner about myself.
For sitting?
That my paths diverged at that moment and I'm in the worst timeline and I'm dead or severely brain damaged, and you're all figments of my imagination.
Oh, that explains so much. Jason thinks he's the main fucking character of some Odyssey situation and we're all just puppets.
Yeah,
which is also very rude.
In a
by
planet,
the way,
in a planet
to call me a figment of your imagination, you piece of shit.
That's what you would say if that's what your character would say for sure.
It's also what I would say if I wasn't a figment of your imagination.
Listen, I'm just kidding. I'm mostly kidding, and I'm
He's
just
not
joking.
kidding.
I'm just kidding, and I'm just joking. Why would I? This world is.
We're all the stars.
Listen, you're not the first person to call me a figment of their imagination, and it really hurts. Like, why does everybody think that?
Why does everybody think that?
Am I not a person?
How are they?
Maybe they're all the figments.
How are they all having the same?
Oh, true. Maybe I'm the one who's real, and you're all fake.
How are they all having the same hallucination? That's what I want to know.
I don't know, because we all had the same Kool-Aid.
Carpe diem, seize the day.
Yeah. Yo, how many times does he have to say that? He just kept repeating the same thing. Is there like a number of times he has to say it?
What?
He kept saying when he was like, I mean, we'll get to it when we get to it, but like when he actually is starting to do the spell.
No, he says different. He says different things the entire time.
Yeah, he says the same thing for the first thing.
Ade, Due, Dambala, give me the power, I beg of you.
I beg of you.
Ade, Due, Jacques Soisse. And he like goes through this whole different thing. Yeah.
Maybe it's the first part that I'm hearing.
Yeah, because you really only hear up to give you the power, I beg of you. That's the part that is
and the rest of it is very much in French. And like there are parts where he only says the French. And I'm like, are they translating it for our benefit? Or like, what's going on? But yeah, no, I've listened to it many times. I think I told you guys this on other Grimoire episodes that I've fully incorporated that curse into my D&D game, and I know that it's not just the same thing repeated over and over again.
So I have a fun thing about the character who plays Andy.
So
I did
Justin Whalen.
Justin Whalen from
Justin Roiland?
From
he canceled?
Yes. No, Justin Whalen from Lois and Clark, I think, was his biggest. He played
Jimmy.
He played Jimmy Olsen on Lois and Clark most prominently. But a fun thing about him is that I did a podcast before this for a show called Blossom Buddies, and we covered every episode of Blossom. We thought it was going to be a huge hit. We thought everybody wanted to hear Blossom episode.
Because everybody loves Blossom.
Down. Yeah, because everybody likes and remembers Blossom.
Not me.
No, not most people. We had like 3 actual fans.
I remember the dancing at the beginning. That's all I remember.
Well,
ooh, yeah, it's a good intro.
I do remember one episode where they go, "You've got the Russo nose," and they both go like this, and they both have like crazy noses.
They do have gigantic noses. They're supposed to be an Italian family, but they're like Jewish coded. It's weird.
What was Joey's thing? What was his catch? Yeah, that's the one. Yeah.
I got a laugh at him every time. Anyway, the point here is this actor played 3 different characters with 3 different names through the course of the show. And they were always like Blossom pining after this boy, and it's weird because he played like the same character all 3 times, but had 3 like in the credits
specifically different characters. Yeah.
They were different characters. Like one was just like
did he have a different haircut?
Kinda, yeah. Like we wore a Letterman jacket one of the times and was like the captain of the football team kind of thing. But right. You know what I mean? Like they were basically all like the heartthrob, but he shows up in like 3 different seasons as 3 different characters, and they did that like with a couple different characters. They did that with another character who like had glasses on and takes his glasses off to reveal that.
That's kind of fun though. I like that.
It's because sitcoms back in the 90s had no real continuity the way they do today. Like they aired episodes out of like.
Well, I mean, not just sitcoms did this.
True,
like
yeah.
Star Trek had every single Star Trek has had Jeffrey Combs come on and play a different character in like multiple different times in every rendition of Star Trek.
What I'm saying is Star Trek and X-Files also did do this thing in Blossom and a lot Fresh Prince and a lot of sitcoms and TV shows of the era where they aired shows for what time of the year it was for TV, not in order of like when the episode takes place in the story, because TV was like always must see or appointment watching. Like you had to see it or it was gone forever unless you recorded it or it was in syndication and in reruns. So you would watch an episode and then the next week it might just be like I don't know what's going on because last week it was supposed to be like a thing happened, but none of the episodes really bled together like they do now also. So it was you were able to do things like that, you know, have somebody show up for sweeps week and then have them show up.
But it's also fun, right? Like it's like a thing where you're like, oh, it's Jeffrey Combs, he's back. He's playing a weird different alien this time. Now he's playing a Ferengi. Now he's playing a weird blue guy. Now he's playing a ghost.
That seems like an in joke with the makers of the show, though.
But I mean, you go to a Star Trek convention and you can bring like 15 different headshots to Jeffrey Combs' table to get him to sign, you know, like he's in it so much. But I mean, I think it's the same thing where it's also like the showrunners like working with that actor. They know that it gets eyeballs on the show. It may be confusing to a
I have another theory corner, actually. I have another theory corner for...
Oh, God. Ding, ding, ding. This is like
that'll make
too
sense.
Many theories in one episode.
That'll make sense when we have the soundbite. It's made. We just have to implement it. But I have a theory. So this kid, what's his name again?
Justin Whalen.
Justin Roiland.
Justin Whalen was in the early 2000s Dungeons and Dragons movie, which nose dove flopped. It was supposed to be a big summer movie, and it just did.
I saw that movie
trash.
in theaters.
It sucked. I watched it.
Good?
I watched it too.
It's funny. I mean, it's funny bad.
It's got a Wayans brother in it, so it's like that caliber.
It's
got
a movie. I also think that John Malkovich is in it. Am I wrong?
Is he the bad guy? There's an episode of How Did This Get Made?
No, it's Jeffrey Irons.
Yeah, Jeremy
Irons.
There's an episode of the great podcast called How Did This Get Made? Where they cover it and they rip it to shreds, and it's really funny. But anyway, he's in this, and then if you look at his IMDb, the next movie he's in is a movie from 2004, which was definitely straight to DVD, called Slammed, which was like a movie about wrestling, like professional wrestling, with nobody in it but Playboy models. No, I'd never heard of it until I looked up this thing. I do want to watch it because it's got a bunch of people in it. It's got a bunch of hilarious sitcom actors of the era, and it's weird because he was in all these things throughout the 90s. He does this movie, and then after that he's doing voices on straight to DVD movies, and he's in shitty low budget F tier movies and stuff, B movies, and it's crazy that movie's probably what destroyed his career because it bombed so hard. And he was he was old now. He's an old man in 2000 after the 90s, him being a third-rate Justin Taylor Thomas. That's right.
Taylor Thomas.
I'm gonna look right down the fucking barrel of this camera and say that Justin Whalen is a third-rate JTT.
Jonathan Taylor Thomas.
What did I say?
You said Justin Taylor Thomas.
No, I said Jonathan Taylor Thomas.
No, you didn't.
Okay, well, I'm not drinking tonight, so I'm not as quick on my toes, and also I've been fucked up on cold medication for the last 6 days, so
that's all right.
My brain is a sieve.
Anyway, Chucky kills this guy, and then he looks up on the internet where Andy is, so somehow he can just figure out where somebody is on the internet, because that's how the internet works.
Yep.
They
don't even show you, just show him typing, and then now he knows that he's at a.
He's like, "Where's Andy?" And he finds out that he's going to military school or military academy or whatever.
And then I groaned.
Yeah, me too.
It's fine. It ends up being fine. It's a pretty good backdrop for a Chucky movie, but I hate. We talked about this in the chat. We both sort of get groany about anytime there's a kids military academy, because I said out loud, I was talking to myself while I was watching this movie, because I was real hyped to I'm doing this, I'm watching this movie, I'm gonna get real into it, and I was oh, it's an academy, oh, Andy's immediately gonna be in a closet tied up or something, but then it's Andy walking into the room for the first time and opening the door to a kid being tied, the nerdy kid. I thought Andy was gonna be the nerdy kid, but he's sort of the he's the reluctant
cool new kid.
Yeah, he's the reluctant hero cool new kid that the one of two girls is immediately you got that fucking baby face that all the
also
90s
what a
girls
great intro to her fucking talking shit to the Shelton lieutenant colonel or whatever rank he wants to give himself or whatever.
Yeah, junior lieutenant piss boy dildo. That's what we've decided, right?
He's the perfect person for that role.
This kid, okay. He had the most punchable face, and he looks a lot like that guy from We're the Millers, and he's playing Adam.
The guy with the eyebrows?
Adam Warlock in the new Guardians movie.
Right.
What's his name?
I don't know his name, but I know who you're talking about, yeah.
And
British brows.
Yeah. How about Will Poulter? How about this? How about how they keep calling him a boy in a really weird way? And I guess there's no other word for it. A guy is kind of informal, but this new boy really did not sound good to my ears when he called him the new boy.
I mean, he is the new boy.
But boy, it's such a weird. It just didn't sound good in my
character or whatever.
It just didn't sound good. I don't
How
mean
about those boots,
sexual
though?
or
Those were
pervy way.
super shiny. Steps onto the scene.
Right.
Have you guys ever had to shine boots?
No. Well, I don't think so. I was in Air Cadets for a week.
I was in Air Cadets for a couple months too.
Yeah, for a couple months. The rockathon was coming up, and I couldn't get a rocking chair, so I quit.
I didn't get a Secret Santa gift, and one person got 2, so I quit.
Jeez. That seems like an oversight.
That seems like a supervillain fucking origin story.
I didn't get one, but one guy got 2, so I quit.
So I turned into a doll, and
now I'm making pipe bombs in my basement.
So anyway, I started blasting.
Andy. So he gets to military school. He has the little brief introduction to the, I don't know. He's like the colonel or what?
You're
I don't
a
know.
new boy, huh?
I think he's the commandant of the school. He's like a dean or whatever, like a principal. And
No, the actual colonel.
yeah, the guy who's in charge of the school, who looks a
man.
lot like a warden I had once in I worked in a warehouse in my early 20s, and he looks like exactly like him. But he keeps asking him questions, and Andy keeps answering them. And this guy keeps going like, I know how to read. And, what do you mean, though? Why are you here? And he's like, I'm telling you. What the fuck? Like, I was so upset because I'm like, that's how I would have answered the questions, too. I would have given him the information he's asking me for.
Literal. Yeah.
Yeah, but he's asking me some philosophical question, and it's like, dude, come on, man. If you want me to give you a philosophical answer, you have to say, why do you think you are here?
You got
literally tried to kill me on 2 different occasions. They put me in foster families, and I couldn't deal because once again, a homicidal doll tried to kill me 2 different times, and I just kind of aged out of it. And now I'm 18, so here I am.
I've been in situations like this in my life, especially in my youth, where people of authority asked me questions like this, and I gave them very literal answers in the way that I thought they were asking, and they would get so frustrated with me. Like sometimes they would yell at me, and I would not understand why I'm like, I don't know what you mean.
It's like when you're in a job interview, and they're like, so why do you want this job? You can't just say, because I need to pay my bills.
Yeah.
Yeah, you can. But good luck getting hired.
Good luck getting hired. But I think adults, when they ask kids, it's the same kind of thing. It's like you're in a job interview, and they want to hear like a bigger answer than just like, I don't because a doll 2 times tried to kill me. My mother's in a mental institution.
Thing, Steve. I like to be very literal. Or actually, I kind of do it on purpose. Sometimes it's not on purpose, but sometimes it is on purpose. Where I'm literally answering what they're asking.
I get very upset and confused if somebody is asking me a vague question and is expecting more from me. I'm like, if you want a more detailed answer, you have to specifically tell me that, or I'm not going to understand you.
Prompt me for it.
It reminds me of like there's a TikTok where there's like this girl, and she's standing in front of her mom, and her mom has like a really hot pot, and mom's holding it by the handles, and the girl keeps trying to grab it by the bottom, and she just keeps yelling, "It's hot on the bottom. It's hot on the bottom." Like, we all know what she means, the mom. It's hot on the bottom, so don't put your hands there. But she's not telling her any more information. She just keeps yelling at her daughter that it's hot on the bottom.
Yeah.
And I'm like, she doesn't understand what you're saying in the fact that it's hot on the bottom is not enough information for her to know that she can't touch the bottom. You need to say, grab it by the handles, or put it down and let her grab it. And you're just like, it like frustrates me beyond belief, because I'm like, you're yelling at her like she's stupid, but it's because you haven't given her enough information that she's not understanding what you're saying. Anyway,
it's a common trait of people with autism.
It's when you're thinking 2, 3, 4 steps ahead, like you're already.
Yeah, when you're mega brained, that's what it is. Not because your brain can't you need to be told what to do specifically, or ask the question in a specific way,
or you're just not getting enough information,
or you're Kaylin and you're playing 4D chess. That's probably what it is.
Oh yeah, Kaylin has like 3 chessboards at once, and like, I know exactly how to deal with this situation.
Kaylin's a beautiful mind, is what I just learned.
So then he gets introduced to his fellow schoolmates, and we meet the lady whose name is De Silva, I think, and then we meet
Christine De Silva,
the nerd guy who's basically just like,
Whitehurst.
I wrote down Whitehausen and Whitler, because I couldn't.
Whitler and Whitehausen.
I couldn't remember his name.
Whitehausen.
Whitehausen.
Who is sort of like he's kind of sort of like Jewish coded nerd sort of thing. Like he's very like stereotypically built as like a Woody Allen-ish character, yeah. Which, you know, is fine, but it's also kind of boring, and you're like, this is at this point, this type of character is like so prevalent everywhere that you're like, okay, we know exactly who you are. You're a coward, and you're gonna be a coward.
It's a trope that never dies, though.
Die.
It's 1991 now, and it had been used through the 80s pretty liberally, and it never really goes away. There's horror movies especially, it's always just that nerd. Yeah. And nowadays it's different. Sometimes they're just like a gamer, and they're just like, I know what I'm doing because I play video games. I think Cabin in the Woods has like, he's like a gamer. Like the nerd is like, I play video games.
He's just like, he's super smart. Like he's into philosophy, but he's really high all the time. That's
right. What did you say, Kaylin?
You guys see that Escape Room movie?
No.
Me and Jason both worked for escape rooms for so long that we probably both were like, ugh.
Yeah. When those movies,
I think you might like it.
The thing is though, when those movies came out too, like that's kind of an older franchise now. I still couldn't really handle psychological horror gore like that. Like I'm still like watching The Walking Dead from my covers like this. Which I started watching. The last stuff is so good that I watched all of Chernobyl to get my fix of like that style of like that look, and now I'm like, you know what? Between episodes, I need something, and I'm watching The Walking Dead, and I'm in season 8, and it's very similar because the zombies are sort of like an afterthought by then, and it's more the interpersonal drama. It's so much worse. Like it's poorly written. Without the zombies, it's just bad writing.
Just bad people in a bad world
in a bad situation. Writing. But it's scratching that itch because of The Last of Us. If you're not watching The Last of Us, go watch The Last of Us.
I'm not, but I'm gonna.
I've never been.
I think
I don't have
what
Crave.
You should do is play the first game before you watch the show. I think you would enjoy the game.
Sure, you have a PlayStation 5. You should play more than Fortnite and Fall Guys on it.
That hurts my heart. You
fucking hair pervert.
You even have.
Speaking of hair perverts, let's get back on track.
You have PlayStation Platinum too. There's so many fucking games. You could be like The Last of Us is on there.
I have to pay for them though, or like a lot of them. It's not like I get them for free. There's a couple free ones.
The Last of Us 1 has got to be
The Last
super
of Us
cheap
Part
or
1.
free.
The Last of Us Part 1 is cheaper, but The Last of Us
cheaper,
remastered,
yeah, exactly.
No, but The Last of Us Remastered, the PS4 one, is on there for free. We'll talk after the show.
Yeah, you could probably.
Good thing that package wasn't fragile, right?
Oh, when the kid drops it, yeah. I just wanted, and then I just wanted to hear like, fuck.
Yeah.
Exactly. That would have been awesome.
Going down the stairs.
Every time they grab him by like his hair or his neck, or they throw him in the trash, or they grab him by a leg,
because he definitely feels pain, right? Like every time he gets stabbed or shot or cut, he screams in pain. Yeah, so he definitely feels
the knife out and blood goes. So,
like I don't know if he feels his hair getting pulled, but I feel like if he got bashed around in a box down a staircase, he would be like not very happy about it.
Well, how about this for a theory? You know how in Toy's Story, like they come to life and then they fall and become toys again? What if Chucky, when he's in toy mode, doesn't feel any pain?
I like that theory.
But when he comes to life, like if you cut Chuck, like how does he never
turn it on and off somehow or whatever?
Yeah, how has he never been cut open in toy mode? Would he bleed?
Yeah, he would bleed.
Do we know that?
Yes.
Yo, if a tree falls in the woods, no one's there. Does he bleed?
In movies after this movie, he definitely gets stabbed and shit when he's in. When he's in toy mode, yeah.
Yeah, but those ones aren't canonical.
They are. They are canonical. That's the most beautiful part.
This is one of the things about
the
Chucky franchise. Yeah,
that's why it's better than Freddy. It's better than Jason. It's better than all of them. Is because they all canonically.
Is it Freddy? Freddy's canonical, isn't it?
It
I
might
mean,
be, but there might be some retconning happening in
there's
Friday the
so like
13th and
the new Nightmare
definitely
is
in
like
Halloween.
a new Nightmare is like Wes Craven as a character, and he's like, I
Yeah,
made Freddy, and then
gets
but
real meta.
I prayed on a book when I did it, and I accidentally brought him to life. So it's like the Freddy from the early movies were movies that were released, and then in New Nightmare, it's like he's come out of the movie.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so it's
I have a Home Alone of it all / theory corner for this one too.
Bring it.
The Home Alone of it all, you would think, is when when he like gets when the kid is dropping the Chucky doll down the stairs and like opens them and the doll reveals himself. You would think that's the Home Alone of it all. Check this out. I think the Home Alone of it all is literally more in line with Home Alone the movie, and the Home Alone of it all is the sequence starting when they are like getting ready to go do war games. Because that whole sequence is the most interesting part.
When he changes the
whole
paintballs with live rounds?
Yeah, like when they're all standing getting ready and he's like, well, the guy died, but we'll be damned if we don't just do war games anyway. And the reason why I think that is because everything up to that point is explanation for things that happened during the actual war games.
yeah. I think as soon as Chucky starts reloading those guns, that would be considered the Home Alone of it all.
Yeah, I think that's what I'm going to say for this one, because it's real easy to just say once we see the main character, that's the Home Alone of it all. I think I want to be a little bit more nuanced with it, and sometimes it's literally like 20 minutes exposition, and then the aliens land, and then that's the Home Alone of it all because we want to see, the alien.
But I mean, he doesn't do a lot of Chuckying.
No,
like
he doesn't
that
alone homes very much.
Yeah, and the death in the garbage compactor is kind of lame. We get the scene where the kid opens the package, Chucky pops out and goes like, "Wah!" And then he's like, who the fuck are you? Like, you're not supposed to open packages that aren't addressed to you, kid. And you're like, okay.
Did he not see him the whole time? I guess that ties in with your point, Jason, when he's like toy mode versus Chucky mode or whatever.
Well, the package was fully wrapped until
covered,
yeah. Well, it was just opened a little bit to see that it was a buddy doll, but it was covered, and then he opens it, and then he pops out and like attacks the kid. The fucking scene with the trash compactor is another example of
like pre-Home Alone.
No. I'm sorry. I'm switching gears a little bit here. Back to like the horror, psychological horror in this movie. It's scarier to not show that and just know it happened than try to show some dumb version of it happening. I know the arm thing happened and that was just like hokey, but the implication of that happening to a person, like dying in slow motion, like if they had not added the grinder, the comically,
which I'm like,
it's not a thing.
I don't think that's how that
trash
works.
is literally just pressed in like
maybe it was old well, actually, have any of you guys been in the States? Maybe the States have garbage trucks like that.
No, they have garbage disposals.
Don't think any
like that.
garbage truck exists with a giant grindy spike wheel inside of it.
Hey, I didn't know that garbage disposals or a garburator were so ridiculous. They're literally like nightmare fuel.
Yeah, it chops up the food.
Yeah.
But
that
big cylinder with the spikes on it, I was like, this is
this
wild.
a Ninja Turtles movie? And even in Ninja Turtles,
the Ninja Turtles, but the Ninja Turtles,
Shredder's in there.
Yeah.
I know, but like I'm trying to say that the press in Ninja Turtles is more disturbing to me than the big grindy wheel. Like,
that's true.
True.
Just the way that like his bits are being bent, like the metal bits and stuff, and like it just is the garbage truck we've all seen a million times that we know exists. He's being crunched into like a cube or whatever.
Either way, the psychological horror of that to the viewer is leaps and bounds. But like, he does like 5 kills in the whole movie. Like the first kill, trash compactor, throat slit. Guy has a heart attack, which he has no part of, or like except for being just scares him twice. Gets the kid shot. He kills the security guard with a gun, and that's it. That's 6 kills. He does 6 kills in this movie.
He never kills too many people, though. He's not like, he doesn't have a massive body count in any movie. But the kills in this movie are...
The first one, he only has like 4.
But the kills are like, they're either like mysterious off-screen kills where we know what's going on, but they don't. or they're like creative, but in this movie they all kind of feel a little boring. I think the funniest kill is the heart attack. Like out of all of them, I'm like, he gets so scared that he died, and like even Chucky's like, "Are you fucking kidding me? Like you died because I'm so scary as a talking doll with a knife. Holy shit!"
Hello, Rusty Trombone 6. Welcome to the chat.
Welcome back.
What are they asking?
Just hello.
They just
my
said
friends.
hello.
Okay.
I just when people come into the chat, I like to acknowledge them so I don't think that we're on one of those live.
We're
replays.
recording.
Yeah.
We're not real. We're not really here.
Because I don't want when I posted our pre-recorded episode a few weeks ago, we lost viewers or we lost followers somehow. I don't know how that correlates, but it says right in the thing. It's like you got to tell people when you're doing a rerun because it's gonna make people confused, and people confuse easily. It's something I've learned over my years.
Just
I'm
like
confused all the time.
everybody in Child's Play 3.
We're talking
all
about
so
Child's
confused
Play
by
3.
the deaths.
Yeah.
But nobody thinks there's any foul play. One thing that is never addressed is the barber's death. Like they never really bring it up. That like it happens in the middle of the day, then they send all the kids out, and there's no like they don't call all the kids back to be like, hey, somebody got fucking straight up murdered in the barber room.
Is it ironic? That's like the definition of irony, right?
I would say it's a little
to be so not enthusiastic, but to be so adamant to want to cut people's hair so that they don't get their hair pulled, so that they don't get their neck slit, and then you get your neck slit.
Yeah,
No,
that's dramatic irony. That's dramatic irony.
It would be ironic if he died because of his short hair somehow. That would be irony.
It's steeped in irony.
Okay.
Irony is a complicated concept, but the way that Kaylin just presented it, I would say personally that I would consider that to be ironically coded. I like using that. Steve, I noticed I said something coded at the beginning of the show, and then you did it, and I like that. I like that. I like it. I liked it. I like.
What am I doing?
I think he likes that you don't like it or something.
No, you do.
Oh, yeah.
No, you do like it. You said coded the way that I used coded earlier. Anyway,
so we were introduced to all of our characters. They're not really interesting, but at the same time, most of the characters from all of the Chucky movies start off kind of boring. And I think the only one that becomes semi-interesting is De Silva, because she's so competent. She's so good at literally everything that she does. But she also is not a shit heel character. Usually that type of character is like, don't fucking talk to me, you newbie piece of shit. You don't even know how to shoot again.
As the bully.
Yeah, but she right away takes him under the wing, which is nice. And it's something that kind of, it comes over from the other movies. Like he's always got somebody that he can rely on. And she is that in this movie. You think maybe it's going to be the nerd, but he is so very unreliable in every single way. But she teaches him how to shoot a gun, which comes into play later in the finale. But, I didn't really believe the romance between them. It's very weak. They don't have enough meat on the bone there to kind of make you believe it. But it's fine. It's fine for what it is, and you can't really complain about it because the movie would suffer if it wasn't there. I want to talk about the hair pervert. Can we talk about the hair pervert?
Let's talk about the hair pervert.
Talk about the hair pervert, Steve.
Yeah. Okay, so there's a character who is played by the same actor who is the dad from the first Hellraiser movie. He's also in Deep Space Nine playing Garrick, the Taylor Cardassian weirdo. He's also kind of a pervert in that, where he's just like got these wide eyes and he's like, I can fit you for a suit this afternoon if you want to stop by my shop. But in this, he's like, when's the last time you got a haircut, you freaks? I love cutting hair. And
sometimes I feel like it's when he's going through the mess hall, I was like, oh, that guy's got long hair, but then he skips over him, doesn't even say anything. I'm like, how are you gonna be all, and then you know what I'm saying?
I guess. I mean, he probably had like certain permissions and contracts of people he was allowed to touch and people he wasn't allowed to touch during that scene.
Are you talking about in the movie, specific, like as far as
Yeah,
like?
as part of the scene direction, it would be less interesting if he was just randomly grabbing at everybody. But
No, I hear what you're saying, but as far as being in real life of the movie, it doesn't make any fucking sense.
maybe that hair was up to code. You never know.
Also, fucking Andy, didn't he just get his haircut?
Yeah.
How's he supposed to, like? He's
That's
like,
why he gave him a week. He gave him a whole
something.
week. He's like, this thing, you're gonna need another cut in a week. Some people's hair grows faster than other people's hair.
That's true, especially as a teenager. And this kid, or this hair pervert, really like wanted everybody's hair super short, but didn't cut it super short. I don't know. He's kind of a weird.
That way they come back so he can get them again.
Yeah, I think he just likes short hair, but he also likes cutting hair. Maybe he's
A hair pervert.
Maybe he eats the hair.
No, he really only wanted to cut the dude's hair. I couldn't really tell actually. Let's analyze this for a second.
No, girls have different rules. They're allowed to have long hair.
Yeah, true, but
which is dumb.
G.I. Jane had to shave her head.
She didn't.
My point though is he goes up to her and she just kind of flips her hair at him and he just moves on. So I think he might
He's
have
like,
been maybe
witchcraft.
No, because so I looked at that as he knows he can't force her to cut it because at the time of when this movie takes place, they had different rules for.
Yeah. Also, this is a school. It's not the actual military, so there's probably even less rules that happen here involving hair. You know,
maybe
it's not
he just liked
the real military.
cutting men's hair.
Maybe. I think it's also just a funny character trope that I find to be entertaining.
He reminded me of
a weird creep going through the mess hall while people are eating, grabbing them by the hair, telling them to come to me on Tuesday.
You know, in
Monday. You later today.
You know, in the you know in the Ernest movies, how he plays a bunch of different characters. This reminded me of an Ernest character. That's all I could think about while I was watching this. Is Jim Varney playing this barber hair pervert and then talking really close to the camera about wanting to cut people's hair.
Your hair is too long.
Your
You
hair
gotta
is
come
too
down
long.
my haircut.
We should also mention that the hair pervert had locks of hair all over his walls with pictures and their hair.
Yeah, I was trying to figure out what those pictures were.
Never paid off. Just a weird detail.
Maybe he's like, this is how long your hair has to be before it needs another cut. Because, like, you know, some hair is curly,
Maybe
some hair
that's
straight.
how long this person's hair was, and then they died because they got their throats slit.
Jesus. I'm thinking that, like, different types of hair texture, different types of hair, like, consistency, curly, straight, dark, you know, all these different things play into, like, what he considers to be the the haircut that is appropriate for that person. So that answers your question, is like why this guy can have longer hair, because his hair is able to be in a box shape so he can keep his hair a little bit longer, whereas this guy whose hair is curly and can't go into the box shape, he needs that thing cut Tuesday or else this man will have a hairy perverted heart attack.
But he's also an asshole about it too. When Whitehall or Whitehauser or whatever the fuck his name is, Whitehurst. When he's in the chair and they keep telling this kid that he's like the most useless, worthless cadet ever. He's cutting his hair and he's shaving around like the bottom part of the back of his hair, and he's doing it so hard that like in the movie his neck is clearly red. Like he like what the fuck? And then he buzzes the back of his ear, and it unlocked a core memory for me. The one time my mom took me to a barber, like an old school barber, instead of a like her hairstylist.
The one time my mom took me to a military barber.
Well, no,
this
like
guy.
I mean like a like a barber shop,
like a barber versus salon,
versus like a salon where they're like really nice to you and they treat you real nice, or an old man who's been cutting hair for 45 years from the military.
Who used to cut it in the military.
He cut my ear, like he cut a little chunk off my ear. And I never went back. I was fucked up.
Yeah, that was my dad's barber.
When he buzzed the back of his... It sucked, dude. It scared the shit out of me. I was bleeding. My mom was furious. But when I
had to play a drama class that was that exact scene.
You were like cutting somebody's hair and then you...
No, my scene partner was cutting my hair, and I was like, "Ow! You snipped my ear." It's like, "So sorry, madame." And I'm like, "I want to speak to the owner, manager."
To the hair manager.
It's like, "But I am the manager."
I am the hair manager.
Well, then I demand a refund. And he's like, "Well, sit down and we'll try it again." I'm like, okay.
Yes, and
that was a scene in a play. What the fuck?
nah, it sounds like an exercise.
It's like
Yeah,
it's like that episode of Looney Tunes. You guys were just recreating the Bugs Bunny hair barber episode.
With Elmer Fudd.
With Elmer Fudge. Yeah. I also had a similar thing, Jason. My dad took me to his barber, and I hated. They were too aggressive with my scalp. They were like manhandling me and shit, and I was like, "This is."
I was
terrible.
literally 7 or 8, and I fucking.
I want to go to I want to go to like a young Italian gay man who's like, "Hello," and like treating me gently.
I want to
like
go
just like snipping and buzzing appropriately.
Who has large breasts, and she rests the breasts on the arm.
Now you're the hair pervert.
Hey, I don't want that now. I want somebody to be as far away from me as possible when they cut my hair. Preferably
I cut my own hair.
Actually, now I do want an old man, but at a salon, not a classic barber. The guy that cuts my hair now,
how the tables have turned.
He's like an old Lebanese man, and he kind of like can like read my vibe. So like he's like
leaning as you're leaning, but he's like leaning away as you're leaning.
He's like
breathing at in unison with you.
Do you want me to get the hot towel? I'm like, yeah.
Every snip is like to your heart rhythm.
And then he gets right in there. No, when he does my beard, he like lines up my beard. And he gets right in there with the straight razor, and it's like yes, and I'm like yes. It's very weird.
That's probably a very old gay man. He used to be a young gay man, but now he's just an old gay man.
Well, he treats me right. I thought I wanted the young guy to give me a more hip young haircut, but now this dude he knows how to make my bald spot look not so bald, because he himself is bald. So
he's like, none of this is real. My whole head is a bald spot.
That's not why I'm wearing a hat. I just had really bad. I took a shower and I didn't comb my hair, so I had an afro.
We can get a magic marker and just like draw like a head of hair.
I could.
We've strained so far away from the character of the hair pervert, and now we're just talking about our own hair. Let's go back. I think instead of saying tracks this episode, I'm going to say
voluptuous woman when I'm 13.
Oh my God.
Breasts on my shoulder while she massages my scalp and cuts my hair.
I will say this: having someone else wash your like hair feels really
awesome.
good. Like massage your
That's
Sorry, go ahead,
I
Steven.
will go
The
to a
hair pervert.
salon
What do
for.
you want to say, man?
I think instead of tracks this episode, I'm going to go Andy.
Perfect.
Andy.
Oh, we lost 2. We lost 3 viewers. So
I can't imagine
Maybe they
why.
don't have any hair.
I can't imagine why we would lose 2 viewers during that conversation. So we got him saying, what does he say to him? He says, surprise, or he goes like, voila, you're done, or something, or abracadabra, you're done.
That sounds about right. Yeah.
And then he pulls Chucky out. He wants to cut Chucky's hair, and Chucky's got long, wiry straw
his
hair.
hair is getting more and more insane as this movie goes on, I will say.
Oh, you wait until you watch The Bride of Chucky, what his hair looks like. It's wild. Chucky in the next movie is it's like the Chucky in my mind when I think of Chucky.
Yeah, and he's all stitched together in that one.
Yeah,
right?
somebody stapled his ass back together.
Isn't it like a big horseshoe?
No, he still has hair, but it's like a really crazy receding hairline and still like a patch on top, but it like goes straight up. He looks wild.
Yeah,
he looks like he got electrocuted.
Big horseshoe.
Yeah.
Horseshoe generally means you have no hair on top and only on the sides. When you say horseshoe and revolving hair.
Oh, yeah, I see. Okay, that kind of. Okay, yeah, you're right. My bad.
Yeah, okay. I'm glad that you.
I was thinking of a front horseshoe.
Yeah, a reverse horseshoe.
Yeah.
That's just a horf hoof sitting on top of your head.
You said horf hoof.
Horf hoof?
Look at my
It's a horf hoof. Okay. So he puts Chucky in the chair. He's gonna do then Chucky slits his throat, but he does like a fun like close slow zoom of the buzzer to his face, and then we get finally some fucking real blood in this movie that isn't a weird severed arm just resting on top of that arm on top of the garbage truck was just pathetic, man.
Yeah,
not good.
Did you say prosthetic?
Yeah.
Like pathetic?
Prosthetic.
Prosthetic was pathetic. Yeah.
Yeah.
So anyway, it's up there. It's bad. And then when he gets the throat slit, you know, the bright red blood, the Tim Burton blood, we love it. Thick red, so good. And we also get a good shot of what's his name, Whitehall coming back or whatever his name is.
Whitehurst.
And he sees the guy dead in the chair, and Chucky's standing there, and we got a nice little wide shot of Chucky just like turning to the screen and being like "Boom" or whatever, and he runs away. I love when Chucky is unapologetically like, I don't care that you saw me. Like, he's not trying to be like like running into the corner. He just looks directly at you and is like, ah.
Yeah, he literally.
No one's gonna believe you.
Yeah. Which is always great.
Just like Bill Murray.
Can you extrapolate on what that means, please?
Any of those Bill Murray stories? There is one. I know there was one story where he told the person, "No one's gonna believe you."
Yeah, I've heard that.
That's hilarious.
Where he shows up at a house party.
Yeah.
Or like he does a wedding crash.
There's a lot of them. There's a lot.
That's great. I want a level of celebrity that I want something in between Bill Murray showing up at a house party and it going viral, or not even nobody saying anything about it, and my own meal at McDonald's.
Your own
Both
meal,
of those are extreme celebrity.
What would your McDonald's meal look like?
Oh, I'll tell you right now what it would be. I'll tell you right now.
God, I'm gonna go to the bathroom.
It would be a junior chicken, a double cheeseburger, a McGriddle.
On the same sandwich?
No, these are all in the meal.
So instead of like a burger and fries, it's 3 burgers.
I'm not done. Medium fries, a hash brown. But you have to get a can of Coke Zero from another location, like from a convenience store.
Dollar store, yeah. So when is what are you doing before you order this meal? Like, what is the situation where someone would order this meal?
Wasted.
Okay, that makes sense.
Lunchtime.
Do they get a deal?
No. It's the same. It's like $2 more than like a Big Mac meal probably, but like it's just so much food. I thought it'd be funny if one of these celebrities, like if Jack Black got a fucking McDonald's meal and it was just like $29 and it's just like 7 burgers. Sorry, Steve.
Actually, Jason, were you still at BP when we made like a little pyramid of sliders?
I was there for sliders, but
yeah, there's one night where I got off work and I'm pretty sure that if my memory serves me, I got off work and then I ordered some sliders and I either asked you or Brad to do them up as like a pyramid.
I remember that now, actually.
And it was awesome. And all the patrons in the restaurant were like, "Oh my God, let me get that too."
Andy. I'm gonna be your best friend forever, Andy.
Tyler was upset that he was gonna look like a wuss, but I would argue that he looks even scarier with smeared lipstick all over his face.
I like that after that moment, Chucky goes,
"This means war."
Yeah,
I'm like, this means
actually,
war.
I made a note about that because I thought he was gonna get up and say something homophobic, but then knowing that John Mancini, what's the guy's name?
Brad Dourif?
Don Mancini is like, an out gay man. Like, I hope he is, because I just outed him.
Don Mancini just messaged me. He said,
yes.
How could you, Jason? I've been in the closet for 25
It's a personal moment.
years,
That's a very
Andy.
personal thing to do, Andy. But the thing is like, he probably wouldn't write some homophobic shit in because he hates that, obviously. But thing
also
is,
Chucky hates that.
Right. There, especially in this TV show, he's very pro. Whatever you do behind closed doors, I'm into. Do what you want. But this means war is so on the nose that I really felt like you couldn't come up with anything else.
Yeah, I mean, I think that you were right earlier where like the lipstick on the doll and the guy, that he probably had like a moment that he had in mind to make it seem much weirder that he died like that. But like Don Mancini, like in The Seed of Chucky, does sort of like a weird commentary on like gender nonconformity as like the entire sort of like crux of one of the characters, where like Chucky wants the child to be a boy, and what's her name? What's her name? Jennifer Tilly. Her character. I can't remember what her doll's name is.
Bride
but
of
she
Chucky.
wants it to. She wants the kid to be a girl, and the seed of Chucky is like, I don't know what I'm supposed to be, and like they don't have any genitals or anything, so like it's all this like weird thing where it doesn't really matter and you can decide for yourself.
That's cool.
And then later in the show, the TV show, the main teen character is gay, and he has like a crush on a boy, and like Chucky has this like moment with him where he's just like,
yeah, I got a queer kid. He's like, yeah, he's non-binary, non-gender conforming, whatever you want to call it.
And he's like, well, don't you hate him because of that? And then Chucky's like, I'm not a monster.
Yeah, I'm not a monster.
Like, I'm just a psychopathic killer.
I just pushed over a maid onto upturned knives in a dishwasher, impaling her face. See, that shit is like the goriest shit in any of the Chucky that I've seen. There's a scene in the TV show in one of the first episodes where when Chucky gets to this house, he's like killing people as he does, and he pushes this maid over. He reveals himself to the maid, and she like runs from him, and she trips and like falls face first onto a bunch of knives pointing upwards. Mm-hmm. And then when the police are investigating the next day trying to figure it out, one of the police officers is like, yeah, they put the knives facing upwards because they think it'll clean them better, but like obviously
insane.
This is the problem.
This is why people shouldn't put knives facing upwards in their dishwashers. Yeah, but because you might trip and impale your whole face.
To be fair, it was like 6 butcher knives. Like nobody had.
It was too many knives.
It was too many knives. Too many giant knives.
Like, what meal were you preparing that you had to use that many knives at once to put them all into the dishwasher at the same time?
10 roast boar. Yeah.
But also, they're a very rich family, so maybe this maid just cleans all the knives like once a week, no matter what, if they're dirty or not. She just like puts them all in there to like, they have to be clean.
So there's
my rich
kill it. You just
employers.
Let that shit ride.
There's 2 moments in this movie I want to talk about that show Chucky's like being over it-ness. And the first one we kind of touched on, and that's the him revealing himself to the colonel like almost having a heart attack, and then him fully revealing himself, and the colonel just like has a full-on heart attack and falls down into like a glass table. And that was, I think the conceit of that scene was they wanted to fucking break this crazy glass table they show in multiple scenes. They wanted him to smash through
got some sort of like war recreation of miniatures inside it, and it's like an elaborate set piece or whatever. Yeah.
And I was like, that's so weird. Like Chucky like doesn't care. Like but it's because like he doesn't want to be doing this. Like he got woken from his slumber, and then also he's trying to convince Tyler, who's a very easy patsy to convince, but Tyler is so dumb that he doesn't realize his like constant imminent danger when even though Chucky's like, I gotta put my soul in your body, I don't know what else to tell you, kid. And the kid's like, we're gonna play tag. And I'm like, even Andy, like, he wanted to be friends with Chucky, but got over it real quick. Like,
but also like Andy, like you're saying, he got over it real quick
soon.
Andy in the first 2 movies is like, the first movie he's a naive kid who's found a friend who's talking to the doll, and the doll is lying to him, and it's not revealed that Chucky is like able to talk and stuff for so long in that first one. Second one, he's terrified of Chucky immediately, and like the whole movie is him being like, we can't allow Chucky in the house, like he'll fuck us up.
But this one, Tyler is almost like the opposite, where he's so like invested in Chucky that he doesn't realize until Andy finally is like, you gotta you gotta watch out for this guy. He's lying to you.
They're trying to recreate the same thing from the first movie, but
Yeah.
it's not done as
But it's
well.
almost, it's, my point is it's almost Chucky's like undoing, because he's trying so hard to like keep it together. I'm gonna get this kid, and if he would have just kept going a little bit longer, because what happens is he's like, okay, kid, we're gonna play hide the soul now, and he's like, I don't want to play that stupid game. I want to play tag, and he's like, God damn it, you fucking kid.
No, it's like you're close, but it's like he's like, I'm tired. I want to go to sleep. I don't want to play that dumb game anymore. And then Chucky says, "You're a real fucking drag."
Yeah.
You know that.
He got so mad.
Yeah, he cannot. He is over being a doll. You're right. Like he just cannot pretend anymore. He can't be like, all right, we're best friends now. Let's play hide the soul.
I think that if
He's like,
this
"You fucker."
I think that if this film series didn't take a break, didn't take a 7-year break, and they kept shitting movies out every year, it would have, the quality and the amount that like Don Mancini cared would have continued to go down, and then we remember this as like a shitty old franchise. But because horror movies, what they do is it's kind of like the MCU now, where they do like groups of like 3.
We need to have it's kind of like an MCU tag moment as well, because you do it every episode. It's kind of like the MCU where
serialized movies,
it'll be like dun, 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 dun. Jason talks about the MCU.
Look,
again.
I have a lot of little things. I like gimmicks, okay? But my
I'll be
point,
right back. You guys keep going.
sure. My point is that horror movies can reinvent themselves all the time, and like we've talked about, Chucky, it's one long story, but it gets dark. It gets darker and grimmer and funnier. Like, you know what I mean? Like the tone gets darker, but it gets more like meta and funny is what it seems
and
like.
I also think that like he learned his lesson from this one, where he's like, oh, the gimmick of Chucky is not Chucky interacting with a fucking idiot child.
Yeah.
The gimmick of Chucky is Chucky. Chucky is the best part of Chucky.
Chucky doing hilarious kills, and
and
girlfriend who's also a Chucky doll, and
and like he realizes Chucky is the star. It's not about these kids who are like and it's not even really about Andy anymore. It's about Chucky being Chucky and just trying to deal with the fact that he's a doll, and maybe he's trapped as a doll forever. But then it, like, you know, he wraps around again later in the Cult of Chucky and the Curse of Chucky and the TV show, where he's like, let's bring back these characters. Let's do the MCU thing where we're going to bring back or the, like, even the Star Wars thing, the Lego sequel
or
stuff.
Star Trek.
Like,
Star Trek is another one where they bring back people in the new series all the time.
Yeah, but he's also like, he's taking characters from his later Chucky movies, bringing them into the TV show, introducing new characters, while also having like Chucky Buster Andy, like being like, my whole life has been wrapped up in trying to kill Chucky. And he has like a Chucky in a closet, like a head of Chucky, where it's got Charles Lee Ray's brain in it, but like also there's other Chuckies running around that also have Charles Lee Ray's brain inside of it too. It's like, it's cool, man. It's so good. It's like a weird comic book story, and I love it.
That's why I'm excited to watch Freddy for like the same reason, because Freddy very quickly, I think we're gonna see in the next one, he becomes the Bugs Bunny character more than like he's established in the first two as like this nightmare. But I think...
the third one, which we're gonna watch this month, is, I think, not widely, but considered amongst lots of Freddy fans to be like one of the best Freddy movies. Like some people rank it at like the top of their list of all the Freddy movies.
I'm excited because it has the
it's the Dream Warriors.
Is this
man.
the one with the bathtub claw?
This is the one where they realize they can fight back in Dream World.
Yeah,
they're like, we have dream powers. they like
That's
fight.
what I'm doing.
They like fight Freddy in their dreams with their own dream powers. It's pretty cool.
Yeah, but he becomes way more Bugs Bunny-ish going forward.
I mean, but it's still threatening. He becomes super Bugs Bunny in like the fourth, fifth, and sixth. Like he's like literally Looney Tunes. Like, bitch. He just says bitch like every 5 seconds. You're like, oh god, they kind of missed the point. But the third one, I mean, this is kind of one of the weaker Child's Play movies. The third Friday the 13th, I think this is the one we finally get the mask, the Jason mask. Yeah. But like, it is riddled 3D. With 3D gimmicks. Like, I'm not gonna watch it on 3D because I don't have the ability to watch it on 3D. But like, it's a lot of like this.
Don't
kind
worry,
of
I got
stuff.
your back.
Like Jason's playing a trombone. Like
Yeah, I think
yeah,
it
you're
has
like,
I think it has the infamous somebody walking around a corner and taking an axe to the face, but like up
and then
close.
like the thing comes at you, or
Yeah.
like somebody turning around with a 2x4, like, oh, excuse me, like, oh,
Which
3D.
I've told you guys this story on the show, I think, maybe before you were on the show, Steve, but I saw the third Harold and Kumar movie in theaters. But after, when it was only on regular screens, like they only had the 3D effect for like a minute because it's the 3D movie. It was a Christmas movie. They probably only had it on a 3D screen for like a weekend because nobody fucking cares about the third Harold and Kumar. And that movie is like wall to wall. Like, ooh, there's like a Christmas
It's funny
tree on
in a
fire
funny
scene.
movie. Yeah, well, yeah. I mean, like 3D fun is fun, but watching a 3D movie in not 3D, it's like off-putting and weird. And
Kaylin's the
like,
only one that's gonna actually probably watch it in 3D for real.
Jason's like, well, I mean, Caitlin's like, oh, 10 out of 10. This movie fucking rules.
Speaking of 10 out of 10, we're coming up on 11. I think that we've covered everything up until the War Games. So if Steve, you want to run us down on the War Games.
Yeah. Okay, so the War Games in the movie, basically it's kind of like capture the flag, I guess, or it's just like, you know, two teams versus one another with an extensive sort of like strategic element
It's paintball.
involved. It's paintball, but
track
it's like
down.
overnight, and you go into like very distant areas, and you're meant to go and capture your the other team's base. Blue versus red. Chucky, while watching the sort of like induction of this moment happening, is reloading the red team's bullets, their paintball bullets, with real bullets, being like,
This should fucking slow them down
Yeah,
or
also
something.
the red team, because it's a paintball, so blue shoot blue. The red team
shoot
shoot
red.
blood.
And
Do
you know
think
what? Red
Halo,
is the
red
color of
versus
blood.
blue got inspiration from this?
Red versus blue? No, I think red versus blue comes from boxing.
I think the red versus blue comes from just always having to choose two different colors for two different teams of
Yeah.
anything that ever
And I
existed
think
in all
I
of time.
should stop trying to make jokes.
Well, what was the joke?
Was that a joke?
Yeah.
See, that's
Okay,
funny.
sorry. Yeah, that's funnier than the joke.
Well, that's what I'm here for,
Yeah.
ladies and gentlemen.
Yeah.
It was a secret setup. We didn't know it, Jason. He was literally setting us
He
up.
red
for that.
versus blued us.
He fucking red blew our minds over here.
Oh,
Okay, so Chucky's watching everyone, and like, you know, he's watching through a window, and he has like a bandolier of bullets on his shoulder at this point,
Great
which I
visual.
thought he was gonna have for the rest of the movie. It was like, come on, Chucky, what happened to that bandolier? Why aren't you still wearing it? He switches the bullets. They go their separate ways. The kid who got his haircut, who saw the dude die, runs out, and he's not telling anybody. Which I'm like, if I was him, I would have ran out and been like, a doll just killed this guy in here. Everybody, like, bring your guns. Let's go. And we would all blown him away together. And Chucky would be like, God damn it, no.
No, but we needed this kid to be the MCU, the Captain America, to save the day at a
Which
big
he does,
pivotal
yeah.
moment.
I mean, we can skip over the whole War Games shit. It's all boring. They go on their marches. They go to their separate areas. There's more turmoil between the clearly gay commander kid who just wants to kiss a boy and doesn't know how to tell anybody about it, and the main Andy, and a map gets stolen. I don't even know. I was like,
No, okay,
sort of
okay,
paying
okay.
attention to this part.
coordinates, something like that.
So Andy's like, I gotta go find the other team to warn them, and
So he steals the map.
he
Is that
steals
why
the map to go find them,
Stupid.
right? Then they find that the map is gone. They ask Whitehauser where the fuck he is. He's like, I don't know. And he's like, oh, well, obviously he went off into the woods. So they're all running around the woods. What ends up happening is
Chucky
De Silva?
kidnaps what's her name?
De
Yeah.
Silva gets kidnapped by Chucky. He's holding her at grenade point. This is the psychological horror for me. This is like fucked. Then
I found a grenade.
then he calls on the
What?
on the mic
Where?
on the
Grenade.
walkie-talkie. He calls for the red team to come in because he's found, and they have the.
Oh, yeah,
Well,
Gather
also,
on.
we skipped over, like, he has Tyler at this point in the woods, right? And like Andy's like, Chucky has Tyler, and everyone's like, nobody fucking believes you that Chucky's even a fucking thing. And then Tyler comes running out of the woods. And he's like, Charles has, De Silva.
Right.
And then Chucky comes over the radio and he's like, put Andy on. Andy, I want to talk to you. And that's where you get the reveal where he has a hand grenade.
I think the scariest thing in this movie, though, is tricking a bunch of kids into believing that they're playing paintball.
War games, yeah.
And then the red team shows up and, like, are shooting real bullets. And my favorite part of the movie, I think, I would call it the climax, is when the lieutenant kid, Chucky, goes, "Hey, see? I told you I'm a talking doll." And he's like,
I'm real, bitch.
I'm real, or whatever. And he's like, well, isn't that, like, the best thing I've ever seen? And then he gets shot by a real bullet. And the red team doesn't realize they're fucking firing real rounds
bullets,
for, like,
yeah.
a solid 30 seconds. I'm yelling at the TV, and then it dies down, and then Chucky, like,
Jason's like, the bullets are real.
Yeah.
The bullets are real. He's holding his TV. He's like, stop shooting.
And then Chucky, so a guy from the other guy that's the, like, lieutenant's, like, lackey, who's like, he's always telling him to do stuff.
His boyfriend. Those guys kiss.
Yeah, they definitely scissor butts or whatever gay guys do. He holds them down. And he's like, you did this. This is you doing. More of the psychological horror to it. Like, everybody obviously thinks that it's this crazy kid, Andy, who thinks the doll's alive. Even though they can see the doll there holding a grenade.
Yeah, and they just saw him get shot by someone that wasn't him. Like, he's like, I don't have a gun.
No, but they think that he changed out the bullets. Anyway, Chucky ends up lobbing the grenade. Just tink, and just chucks it down by them. Whitestein. What the fuck is his name? Whitehurst.
It's like, a hearse that takes the dead body.
But Hurst.
Yeah.
He sees the grenade. He's the only person that sees the grenade, and he fucking jumps on top of that. He could have kicked it at Chucky.
Chucky was already crawling underneath the car going like, like,
he does kind of crawl away like Pennywise. But yeah, he jumps on the grenade and just blows up. He doesn't explode, but like
no, that's what would happen if you
jump
on a grenade. You would gather all the impact in your gut.
Yeah, it would shatter all of your organs,
and you would die.
So he dies.
Which he does.
So he has the ultimate hero death.
Purple heart.
Is that what a purple heart is? Don't you have to survive?
Oh, I don't know.
Yeah.
They hand the purple heart off his, like, corpse.
Yeah, I think they give the purple heart to the widow or parents or whatever.
Right.
But you probably also get like a Medal of Honor or some shit.
You get the video game Medal of Honor.
They're like, here, play this. This is basically what happened.
Yeah. So
now you can relive your PTSD, but without dying.
Yeah. We forgot to mention a sweet moment earlier in the movie where Andy and De Silva finally smooch. She goes off into the woods. They're like sitting around a fire telling a camp like horror stories. Spooky stories. She tells like a grimoire
That's
of
right.
stories.
No.
Kinda. She tells a story about like a limping like serial killer man kind of thing, like a Michael Myers.
Thud, drag,
thud. But then the redhead gets in place, and as the two are going into the woods, we hear her like, I think there's a mental asylum down the road, and I'm like, is that the mental asylum from Cult of Chucky, but also from the previous, I think the first movie? Does that have the
maybe? I made a joke. It's a mental asylum for the criminally sexual, and like that's because I was like, everybody's like overly sexualized the entire time. I don't know. I made it to the person I was watching the movie with, and we both had a nice.
You had a sensible chuckle.
Yeah. The criminally sexy.
So they get to the top of the hill, and she reveals that at the bottom of this hill, on the other side of like the campus, there's a carnival
happening.
Carnival in like the middle, also in the middle of the woods. But the conceit here is obviously the makers of the movie were like, carnivals are scary. Let's do a carnival.
I think that the conceit was they're like, how do we top the end of the second movie, which is the greatest ending to any movie ever made.
Kids almost
They're chasing Chucky around a toy factory, creating one specific doll that's like so brightly lit and colorful. And
kids
so
almost
good.
Getting torn to shreds by fucking the machines. So anyway, fast forward back to where we are in the movie. They make it over. So Tyler and Chucky are going in. They get separated. Tyler gets away. He runs into the security tent.
Charles is trying to hurt me.
Yeah.
Hold on, kid. Hold on.
Does this Charles person in the
they
room right
They
now?
also give you like a weird intro to this security guard that's like on a hard ass like power trip.
Yeah.
Where he goes up to a guy with a boombox and he's like, "Listen, turn that shit off right now." And the guy's like, "What?" And he's like, "Turn it off or you're out of here." And he like hits the guy's boombox, walks away, and he's like, "I only want to hear carnival music and nothing."
I like too that he doesn't believe the victim, because Tyler's like, Charles is trying to hurt me, and he's like, did you ever think that maybe Charles is just trying to apologize?
Maybe Charles is your best friend.
It's like, no,
that you never knew.
Well, don't worry, kid, because I have something here that'll make you feel better. This bloody, dirty, mangled doll. And it's Chucky.
Here's something that might cheer you up.
And we get a cutaway back to the De Silva and Andy, and then we cut back, and they run into the security place, and they find they did like a mini Chekhov's gun here, where he opens a drawer to get
literally
a
mini gun.
Yeah. Well, it's also a mini like show the gun, and then it's used in the next scene, but we don't never see it get fired. But they get there, he's got a bullet wound in his head, and the gun's on the ground next to him. And I'm like, oh, they're going to use this gun in the next scene. Nope. This security guard has a fucking Desert Eagle
giant
in
gun,
a holster. Yeah. And they take the fucking biggest handgun.
It's like a Clint Eastwood like Dirty Harry gun.
Yeah. It's a Desert Eagle, I'm pretty sure.
No, it's a Magnum. A Desert Eagle is a clip gun. This is a 6-shooter. Yeah.
I'm sorry. I thought I knew my guns. But yeah, then they go into a haunted house like roller coaster ride thing, and they kind of muck about in there.
But Chucky does have that tiny little gun.
Chucky does have the tiny little gun.
It's a Chucky-sized gun. Like, of course he's going to take it. He wouldn't be able to really use that big-ass gun properly. He'd have to use his whole body. Yeah. Use it like a rifle, like put it into his shoulder.
And basically, we have them muck about a bit. We have a couple little bits where they're like dodging out of the way. We get to see Andy now being kind of the action guy. He has a few moments in this movie where he's like, "But I'm scared. What do I do when I'm scared?" And he says to De Silva, even like, "You seem like you're never scared." She's like, "Yeah, that's because I'm hot." So
the real reason is because I'm always scared.
Yeah,
because I'm a woman.
Turns into She-Hulk, and then. Yeah, the like end of this movie is really fun because they climb up this like, well, first of all, fucking Tyler gets on the back of this.
Yeah, none of this makes any goddamn sense.
Tyler gets on the back of like this bird, this like hell.
It's like a devil
bird thing that's like going up and down. He gets on the back of it, and
I think it's literally saying like, "I'm the devil, I'm the devil," as it's like flying upwards up the volcano.
And we get this goofy ass shot from the bottom of it of like just a doll hanging off the bottom of it, which I fucking laughed out loud. Then,
there's so many good parts of like him being carried around in this whole end sequence. Like there's one part where when Tyler first goes into the haunted house and like he walks up to like a little area and you hear Chucky go, "All right, far enough, put me down." And like you see him like put him down, and then it cuts to Chucky being like, "All right." And you're like, okay, like clearly he was just carrying like a fucking dollar.
All right, put me down.
Yeah.
This is far enough.
But we do get a really kind of goofy moment where it's the old like somebody climbing a rock wall, but it's a fucking pile of giant skulls made of like styrofoam, and Andy looks down to see that there's just this nonsense spinning blade. And it's supposed to be
to make it look like it's fire.
I know.
There's streamers of fire. And there's absolutely no guard on top of it.
No, and it's open.
It's a big fan.
It's basically if you turned a lawnmower upside down and magnified it,
or
100
a
times.
Like jet engine, or like a plane, like
a 747 engine.
Yeah.
And basically somebody's going in that. Somebody's gonna get Mortal Kombated right into that shit.
Yeah, and we already know who it is.
Yeah.
We're like, it's gonna be our favorite boy.
But I forgot to mention something. Before that, Chucky, there's just this Grim Reaper with a giant swinging blade that's going back and forth.
Yeah.
And Chucky just gets half his face sliced off.
He's not paying attention to it swinging at all, and it's so sharp that it can cut half his face off.
So we now have a two-faced Chucky situation also on top of all of this. Yeah, exactly.
And you're like, oh yeah, I forgot that the end of every Chucky movie he has to be like
mangled.
Horribly mangled and scarier.
So he
was the rest of the time.
Andy climbs up. Meanwhile, Tyler is like struggling with the doll. Like, just throw the doll. I guess he's a little kid. Andy falls because he has.
I think
to
it's
fall.
established that he has crazy strength as the doll. Like
Right.
he can punch you in the face, and it will be like being punched in the face by a full-grown
like
man.
a full man. But Andy, of course, has to like slip and fall. Chucky knocks Tyler out. You think it's all over. But then he's like, oh yeah, I have this gun. So he climbs up halfway and he takes a shot and misses. Then he shoots his arm off. Chucky's
But
like,
also, this
fuck.
entire time, what we hear is,
Yes.
do
He's doing a
Dembala. Give me the power, I beg
I
of
beg
you.
of you. And then he shoots him in the arm, shoots his arm off, and then I think he just shoots him in the head, and then he falls off.
He falls away.
The physics
He doesn't
don't
fall.
fully make sense.
He shoots him in the chest, and he's like, ah!
Yeah.
And then Andy goes up, and he's like, are you okay? And we're like, well, you didn't see Chucky die, so everybody needs to calm down because
Right.
he's coming back.
Yeah. Oh yeah, and then he does the like horror movie jump scare, and then he's like, ah! And then then Andy's just like, fuck.
Where his face is so angry, like, and his
Yeah.
mouth is so wide. And he's strangling him, which is his signature,
move.
He can strangle the shit out of anybody.
And then all this build up for this jet engine fan, only to have him fall into it, get caught on one of the blades, and just kind of go with it.
But I like it though.
But
I
it looked
like
like it looked like they tried it and it didn't work. Like it bounced off and flew away. So they like pre-mangled the doll and then dropped it again. Is what it looked like.
Probably 100% accurate what you just said. Yeah, they
Probably 100.
they probably threw like 4 or 5 Chucky dolls, and there's probably one that was just juice. Like there's like a bunch of water balloons taped together or something. You know, like they probably filmed several different Chucky dolls getting ripped up.
I don't know what I was expecting, but that was not it. Because
I liked it.
It was a little lackluster. I
Yeah.
agree.
I
completely agree. It felt like it was just abrupt and lackluster. Like
I wanted comic blood shooting out of it. Like that's what I wanted. I know that's not really how they do it in these movies.
You wanted like Evil Dead levels
Yeah.
of blood like flying everywhere. Yeah. You know what? When he first hits, he splits and then he skips around and he's getting chopped up. But then they cut to different angles and there's clearly like chunks and shit, and you can still hear like whoa. I'm like he's still screaming.
I kind of want to
as he's
rewatch
being
it also.
chopped up.
Because it is a satisfying ending for a horror movie because you're like, that's it. Chucky can't come back. His blood didn't fall in the vat. That's it.
The first movie he just got burned and shot. The second movie he got melted into a big nasty globule, and this one he's in a billion pieces. And that's why it's so good the way he comes back in the next one. He's just like, I'm back. It's like somebody sewed his ass together.
But it's
great.
Cool because the movie just ends there. Like they just kind of do a pull out of the
and Andy gets arrested.
Andy goes the fuck to jail.
He gets blamed for all of the murders.
Yeah.
I believe is like what the lore is, because like they don't explain why he's being arrested. It's just like, all right, kid,
nobody's gonna believe
you cannot blame the doll again. Like no. It's you. We know it's you.
The only person that's seen the doll that's still alive is De Silva, and she's like kind of like, I'll wait for you, and he's like, nah.
And Tyler.
Yeah. Oh yeah,
Tyler ever comes back.
Tyler's fucking probably traumatized forever though. Probably with Andy's mom now in a asylum.
True, yeah.
Anyway, that's the movie. I liked the movie, Chucky Part 3, Child's Play. Look who's stalking.
Look who's stalking now.
So it says on the poster. I never noticed that.
Look who's stalking.
Yeah.
Because that movie would have just come out right around. I think that came out in 1990.
Yeah.
That's funny. I didn't know that either. Look who's
Yeah.
stalking. Wow, they really went that direction, did they? Andy. All right. Well, I don't know. Do you guys have any other notes?
No, I actually got
didn't
through.
really have many.
I do have one other note.
What is it?
So I believe it was at the beginning during the board room meeting or whatever. The one of the themes like with these movies from the start was consumerism, right? And they make that comment, what are children
Right.
what are children after all but consumer trainees, right? And that shit hit me on so many levels. It's like, fuck, you know what I mean? It's like, shit, it's fucking true.
It's very
It
true.
makes me almost kind of upset with myself for all these physical things that I have that they aren't needs, they're wants or whatever, right?
Your shoe collection.
And
Your Dragon Ball Z action figure collection.
yeah, all of the above.
I collect video games. I have a lot of physical video games I should probably just get rid of. Like I like.
No, don't do it. You're gonna regret it.
I know.
I collect
there's
sexual
things I traded in.
diseases.
I'm so pissed off. I traded in some of my games. I wish I still had them.
Yeah. Do you still have your N64? Because that's what really matters.
Someone stole it.
Oh, that's brutal.
Yeah.
You'll have to tell me that
Yeah.
story later. But now,
Yeah,
we're-
you half expected
that was-
Dennis Miller to break the door down and be like, you know what? We need to create these soldiers to hunt down these monsters. Small Soldiers. Remember when we did that movie? What a good movie.
That was a good movie. I liked it. But what
All right.
about this movie?
I mean, I guess we should move right into final thoughts, right?
Yeah, who's first?
Well, Jason went first on the way in, so
I'm gonna go first now.
that means you get to go first, yeah. Kaylin, tell us what you thought of Child's Play 3. Look
Chucky.
who's stalking now.
So for a horror movie, it wasn't very scary. We kind of talked about it earlier. It was a toned down version, like a young adult, kind of direction of where to take the movie. I do like that it does have the trilogy of that title. I kind of don't like that the title doesn't get continued, but I do like that the title doesn't get continued, if that makes any sense.
Because it's not Child's Play anymore
Yeah,
after that.
exactly.
It's the Chonky Tonk Man.
What does that say? Oh, yeah.
Can't hear your thoughts, Kaylin.
What is my own writing say?
I scribble when I write because I'm trying to do it quick, but it reminded me of being in Air Cadets, and there's a few things I won't get into the details, but there's aspects that remind me of Air Cadets. Those just kind of gave me a little personal kind of ooh, or whatever.
Was it when a 45-year-old man was grabbing you by the hair saying, "When's the last time you had a shave?"
Exactly. So for my what went well, I did practical effects / deaths. I wasn't turned off by them. I liked it. It was all good. It was right up my alley. For even better, so I put down, I wonder what it would have been like if it was all at night. And I think we kind of talked about it during the episode. This installment to the franchise just felt different, right? And I was watching, it still hits beats, but for some reason for a few reasons, it's just not hitting it the same way. But then I was like, ooh, I wonder if they made this just over the period of a night. Everything that happens, but they make it essentially he gets there at the end of the day, and then the movie takes course over the night. What that would have done to the tone and feeling of it.
Yeah. Kind of does.
Yeah, it doesn't seem to take place over a very long period of time.
The first,
right.
yeah,
It's a couple
two,
of days
it's
at
2
least.
days, but like I do see what you mean. Like the daytime parts do kind of kill it. That happened in another movie we did recently. That like, what was the Escape from New York has a like a daytime part that's really like off-putting in a similar way. Sorry, Kalen, go ahead.
No, that was it.
Cool.
Just wait. Yeah. So
When the edibles hit at the end of the episode, what were you doing, man?
Okay, so if you own it, then you might as well own this one too. Otherwise, watch it. I give it a taking a little too much off the top.
All right.
That's good.
Jason,
That's good.
hit us with your final thoughts.
What went well? I'm gonna start with that because I've always been forgetting to write that down. But what went well was the kills, the murders, the first murder especially. And what's the other part? What could be better?
Yeah, even better.
Even better. More of Chucky being less like lethargic about murdering. Like Chucky being over it kind of kills it for me. The two scenes that I mentioned where he just kind of like when he just like he's just cackling at a guy having a heart attack. I'm like, that's kind of the spirit of Chucky.
He
but
wasn't cackling. He was upset. He was like, I wanted to kill you.
Yeah.
He was mad.
He's
I
laughing.
almost expected him to be like, whoa, hey, man, are you all right? You need me to call a doctor? Like,
It's a little tongue in cheek, but the thing about it was like the dude fucking had him. But like if he's always in Chucky mode, his face just goes limp. He had him by the hair. Actually, you know what? When Andy first sees Chucky, the guy's carrying him to his office, and the doll like turns and looks at him. Sort of.
I mean,
it could have been that he just fell that way, and Andy knows that it's Chucky. Anyway.
Yeah.
We're still out. The jury's still out on whether or not he goes into Chucky mode or not. For my final thoughts, I like this one a lot. I was actually on the edge of my seat from around the grenade standoff to the end, laughing out loud. That's true. I fucking was into it, man. It's like sober. I took some cold meds. That might have had something to do with it, though. Chucky wasn't as...
Everything Jason's looking at is like, Andy, Andy.
I look in the mirror and I'm Chucky. Chucky wasn't as Chucky-like as the previous two, because of what I said. Like seems like he's kind of over it throughout this movie. But this one was more like epic, had like a bigger scope almost, and the movie was more about Andy, I thought, than Chucky. It was more a story about like Andy trying to like warn everybody as an adult now, like. Because they'll listen to you more if you're older, but the consequences are sort of more dire. Because an adult yelling about a doll is a little bit more fucked up about a kid yelling, like trying to convince everybody the doll's alive. It felt like it had a bigger budget, and a lot of the set pieces and costumes reflected that. I typically don't enjoy the military school backdrop, but here it was used well, I think. I thought the kills could have been better. The first kill in reflecting on it was the best kill of the movie because he played cat and mouse with that guy and did all of his classic tropes. So there's that. Chucky literally killed someone by scaring them. What the hell was that? I love that he was disappointed. Overall, I had a really good time, so I'll give it a solid 3 out of 5. I really enjoyed. This is something I learned about 80s movies versus 90s movies, and even though it's 1991, this movie's already showing that like I really enjoyed the 90s cheese more than the 80s cheese because I think that I was more steeped in it. It's more relative to like what I grew up on, where 80s movies, even when I was a little kid, seemed like old. Because of how time is kind of relevant. Time is kind of like relative to like your age goes faster as you get older. So when you're 8 years old,
exactly what it is.
1985 seemed like 8 years ago seemed like forever ago because 1 year takes forever. But when you're in your 30s, 1 year feels like a couple months.
Yeah. Now you're still laughing at shit that was made in 2011.
Exactly.
Like, this is fresh and hot.
I love basketball every day. Basketball all the time.
Whoa! You just blew my mind. That's why old people are so behind.
Yeah,
because it's only a couple months for them.
They get stuck. I'm getting there, man. I'm starting to get stuck in my ways.
If you're consciously aware of it, you'll be able to
That's true.
evolve.
That's why I try to keep up with the lingo with the kids, the TikToks, and
the lingo. You don't need to worry about the lingo.
That's cap, and you know it. Yeet. I use cap properly.
I think both of those are outdated. I mean, yeet is, but I think cap is also.
No, cap.
Isn't that from Fall Guys?
Cap
I had
is
to
fine.
go yeet the other day.
Oh my god. Okay. I think the 90s is like more snappy also. I give this movie a teenager slipping and sliding several times on a mountain of skulls while a killer doll plays hide the soul with a child, but ultimately he gets to the top and he throws that fucker into a fan.
All right, excellent work. Very good. Several points to Jason Dorr.
Why can't I? That's fucking backwards.
All right, I guess I have to do what worked, and I forgot it as well again.
What went well? What better?
What went well?
What
could have been better?
Even better. What went well? Even better.
Okay. So what went well for me was the time jump. I think the time jump was great. I don't think that we needed to see Andy as a little kid anymore, still dealing with Chucky. I think the fact that he goes so far ahead, it gives us time for him to almost question his own thoughts and maybe think that the doll, everything that he saw was maybe just part of his traumatic childhood. Even though he still believes in it, he's now old enough to start questioning it and thinking that maybe something else might have happened to him. Maybe this isn't real. Maybe I created it as some sort of mechanism to mask my own trauma. And like, that's cool and interesting. And I think they maybe should have leaned into that a little bit more, which I guess could have also been better. But I think the time jump was smart. What could have been better though for me out of everything in this movie was the music. The music fucking sucked in this movie. The first two movies have such a good score, and like it's so like ingrained into the lifeblood of how you feel about Chucky, and the score in this movie just feels like a Are You Afraid of the Dark or a Goosebumps episode.
It's just the drums. It's just those fucking military drums.
Or like the synthy strings, like wing, 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 wing. And it's like it's nothing. It doesn't heighten it. There's no theme that plays when Chucky's doing shit in the background. There's nothing there. It's nothing. And like I really honestly believe that if the music in this movie was to the level of the first two movies, the entire movie probably would have felt completely different and probably been better. But low budget movie, and whatever, it's fine. But I mean, yeah, my could have been better is the music, and also the Andy questioning his own beliefs of Chucky could have probably been better. But that probably would have extended the movie by another hour if they had to deal with that kind of stuff. And now let me get into my written down thing. While a passable and at times enjoyable installment of the Chucky saga, I do think that Child's Play 3 falls short in many areas that made the first two movies so great. Andy, it takes more than a handful of cues from those movies and attempts to either recreate or subvert the ideas to make a good movie, but they just don't live up to an oozing demon doll or a crispy misogynist. The characters are all right, but the turnaround from movie 2 to 3 being so short is quite obvious. There are no real original ideas here, but the ones that we get are not unbearable. The set pieces are a little boring, but the heart is there. Though it's not surprising there was a 7-year gap between this movie and the next Chucky murder spree. There are not many things I will say suck in this movie, as it's still fun enough, but the lack of an interesting or fun score shows leaving the movie feel more like a made-for-TV piece of shit. The cinematography of the first two is also missing. It's so good. The cinematography in the first two movies are so great, like always going from a low angle with like a wide lens to show Chucky's view. All that stuff is it's missing from this installment, and it makes it feel rushed and poorly thought out. I don't hate it, but it falls very low on the list of Chucky movies for me. Like it's really low near the bottom. It mostly feels like me. Sorry, it mostly leaves me feeling the way that Chucky felt after he watched his next victim die of a heart attack. Going, what the? Are you fucking serious? I give this movie an attempt to swap my soul into an unwilling host, only to be interrupted by something really boring. Like, what the fuck?
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. Just one last thing about the cinematography. I really appreciate that you mentioned that. We forgot to kind of mention.
Well, we talked about her hair too much.
Yeah,
we forgot.
But the thing that they did in this one is they did use those like Chucky view angles, but it wasn't even it wasn't even from the point of view of Chucky. They just used that angle sometimes for some reason. Like the person who did like principal photography like got like a list of shots that they wanted to use but didn't know the context behind the shots.
It was definitely like they got those shots for specific reasons within the script, and then the script got torn to shreds and they just only had those angles. They're like, well, we use it here even though Chucky's not here.
We have to use this shot for something. Yeah.
Kaylin, you had your hand up. What do you have to say?
I forgot to mention MPAA 31273.
30,000 movies.
All right. Well, I think that brings the first installment of this month's Grimoire of Familiar Killers.
I'm scared. I'm scared of it.
Are you ready for next week?
Are you afraid of the dark?
1, 2, Freddy's coming for you.
3, 4, Chucky's coming through and he's gonna fuck you. Chucky, fucky.
I almost read my whole review as Chucky. It's gonna be like,
well, a passable at times, enjoyable installment of the Chucky saga.
I hate it. Just yell it. All right, fellas. I've got
Nope.
I remember this. Shit.
Names?
I don't.
Names.
Hello, it's me, Steve, and for me and for Jason, I'm Steven, me.
No, you forgot to say.
Oh, I mean, for me and for Jason and for Kaylin, I'm Steven. Guys, I hate this. Why do I have to do it?
No, because here's what we're gonna do. I'm just gonna make a button that does it. But for now, for Kaylin and for Steven, I'm Jason.
You guys realize I have a broken brain, right? Like, and this is too much for me to handle. The end of this every time is too much.
We're almost done.
Okay.
For you guys, I'm this guy.
See? Perfect.
For you guys, I'm this guy.
And hey. Did you see this one?
Hey, did you see this one? Andy?
Hey.
He's not going to say it. Now I have to wait.
Oh, did you see this one?
There we go.
Andy.
Did you guys...
Do you think he has his name written on the bottom of his shoe?
Does he? It probably says Buddy.
No,
right?
he's a new doll. He got reforged.
Oh.
Unless he wrote it in there himself for like a nostalgic purpose or something.
Do you guys have any funny, quick 1-second anecdotes?
I was kind of hoping that was it.